Good morning. It's now 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And in the news this morning is the rain. It'll end this morning, and we've got some mild weather behind that. The high today will be near 60 degrees. Right now, it's 52. A correctional officer with the Tennessee Department of Correction has been stabbed to death by an inmate. This happened at the Morgan County Correctional Complex on Wednesday. 35-year-old Dustin Pedego had only been on the job for less than a year. The suspect is 34-year-old inmate Reginald Steed, who has been transferred out of that facility. The Morgan County facility is under lockdown now, and visitation has been canceled for the weekend, while an investigation into the stabbing continues. A woman is facing charges after her car was hit by a train this week in Springfield.
We now know that car crossed the tracks while the train was coming towards them. The driver, Catherine Rawls, is currently in the hospital, but we don't know how she's doing this morning or exactly what charges she's facing. The crash killed her passenger, Jody Owens, who was a mother of two.
That's Channel 4's Marius Payton there. The Tennessee House passed a measure yesterday that requires landlords to register their information or face a weekly fine. House Majority Leader William Lambert.
Our cities have no idea how to reach those folks. I mean, they're not in our community. They normally do not even live in the state. At the very least, you should have a point of contact where you can call someone or send them some mail at an address that is a valid address so that you can alert them to any kind of a law enforcement issue there, or for goodness sakes, if the house burned down. Some of these places we wouldn't even know who to contact.
Right now, Memphis, Murfreesboro, and Knoxville only use rental registries for short-term rentals. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Markets closed higher as investors anxiously awaited NVIDIA's profit report. The Dow added 307 points, the Nasdaq gained 288, and the S&P grew 56. NVIDIA climbed 2% as analysts predicted another blowout earnings report. Elsewhere on Wall Street, Mediterranean restaurant chain Cava Group jumped 26% after delivering better profit and revenue than expected. Lowe's fell 5% despite a better-than-expected profit report. Investors were more focused on its forecast, which fell short of estimates. Samsung unveiled its newest Galaxy smartphones, which include more artificial intelligence technology, a new privacy shield, and a price increase of 10 to 13%. ABC News.
And stock futures this morning pointing down, but just slightly. That is your latest news. Your traffic is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. All right, I don't see any big delays so far this morning. Things are looking pretty good on all the major roadways. Just expect the rolling roadblocks again for pothole patching as TDOT crews are performing those roadblocks and patching up the roadways after our winter storm. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And good morning to you, friends. Hope you are doing well. And welcome on in to a Thursday. It is February 26th of 2026. And appreciate you being here. By the way, your rain, occasional rain throughout the day. High of 61, feeling like 58. You know how hard it was, Joan Jones, to get out of bed with all of that nice, calming sound of rain out my window?
I know.
Man, it is really hard to get out of bed, from underneath the covers. And, because the rain just puts me right to sleep.
Yep.
The good news, though, Joan, is that as a man of a certain age, I hear rain and I have to go to the bathroom. So there's that, too.
You're right out of bed as soon as you wake up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Joan, who is Pat Ho?
Pat Ho is, it's a new term. And if you don't know, Dan, then you're not in the know.
Listen, apparently Pat Ho maybe needs some penicillin to clean up all of that, Ho stuff. Anyway, moving right along. Can we talk really quickly about this whole Cuban thing?
Yeah.
So apparently, from what I understand, Cuba killed 4 Americans. Is that from what I understand?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay, so when does the bombing start?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. When do we start bombing the hell out of Cuba? Now, apparently, you explained the story to me, Joan. You just did the story, but apparently they thought that our Americans were what, like drug runners or what?
So there were 10 people on this speedboat, and whether they were in the territorial waters of Cuba or not, or if they were on the international side, still remains to be seen, and that's what's being investigated now. But these 10 people got into a firefight with the Cuban Coast Guard, and the early reports are saying that these people on the speedboat started the firefight, and 4 of them ended up dead, and the other 6 were injured, and they've all been taken into custody in Cuba. Now comes the investigation.
Right.
Cuba is saying that they were there for like a terrorist operation. The U.S. says, hey, listen, people have been taking boats, and this boat, by the way, was stolen, have been taking speedboats to Cuba and picking up people on the shores to escape Cuba for years. This is not a new operation. Let's not make it something more.
Yeah, you're right. These Americans are people, as you just said. They get in these speedboats, and you've got the Cuban defectors, of course.
Yeah.
And they're trying to, as the story goes, help people defect. But Cuba, that their story is that we're firing on their Coast Guard. By the way, Secretary of State Marco Rubio does not buy that at all.
So this morning, we were made aware by Cuban authorities of an incident off the coast of Cuba. We immediately began to look into it. As it stands now, the Department of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, others are involved. The majority of the information we still possess is what Cuban authorities are providing, both the public and the U.S. government. We have our embassy on the ground in Havana working this as we speak, asking for access to the people that were on those vessels, if they were American citizens or permanent residents. According to the Cuban regime, the boat was registered in Florida. We're tracking that down. We will know shortly, and we will know quickly, many more facts about this incident than we know right now. The majority of the facts by Cubans.
I hope.
Happening.
I hope that's not our computer.
Here, I can play the most important thing of what he said.
Okay.
In that.
Yes.
We're going to find out. We're not going to base our conclusions on what they've told us. And I'm very, very confident that we will know the full story of what happened here, and we will know it soon. And then, we'll respond appropriately based on what that information tells us.
Yeah, the New York Post, Cuba's Ministry of the Interior, announcing the deadly altercation in a post on social media, declaring it was protecting its territorial waters when its border troops killed at least 4 and wounded 6 who were aboard a Florida-registered boat that had entered Cuban waters. Marco Rubio downplaying Cuba's version of the events, saying the U.S. would find its own information on this, saying we're not going to base our conclusions on what they told us. He said, adding, we'll respond appropriately based on what our information tells us. Vice President J.D. Vance also saying that the Trump administration is working to learn more. Hopefully, they say, this is what J.D. Vance said, hopefully it's not as bad as we fear it could be, but I can't say more because I just don't know more. J.D. Vance telling reporters during an event at the White House, Cuba's government, saying that on Wednesday morning, the crew on the speedboat opened fire on the Cuban personnel, resulting in the injury of the commander of the Cuban vessel. Cuban border guards returned fire, they say. 4 aggressors on the foreign vessel were killed. 6 were injured, as we've been saying. The injured individuals were evacuated and received medical assistance, the Interior Ministry said. So what you're saying, Joan, is does Cuba have 6 of our people?
They do.
Are they considered, they're not considered hostages, though? Do we know?
No, not at this point, because Cuba is claiming that that they did something wrong and they took them into custody. So, you know what? It's all they're going to get to the bottom of this. And I think Cuba has like nothing to stand on. And Marco Rubio has an axe to grind because his family is from Cuba.
Oh, his family fled Cuba.
Yeah.
And he's had it in for Cuba for years.
So they better watch themselves.
I think Marco Rubio, you know what I think Marco Rubio is saying right now? Please, Cuba, go ahead, make my day.
Yeah, make my day.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know. The really interesting story, though. I saw that and I thought, okay, well, let's see how this plays out. And of course, Donald Trump has been, talking about Cuba for quite some time. So I'm sure that everyone understands how dicey this could be. I'm sure that everybody understands that this could turn really bad really fast. And so
for Cuba.
Well, yeah, obviously for Cuba. I mean, 4 Americans being killed. Now, that being said, if this is what I'll go ahead and say it because it's obvious. These 4 Americans that were killed and the 10 total in the boat, if that is what they were doing, which is helping people flee Cuba, I love what they're doing, but they know that that is a dangerous job. They know that they are putting themselves in danger. So I think that for, those people, the remaining 6, I just hope that Cuba plays this smart. Again, I love what they were doing, and I'm not victim blaming, but what I am saying is what they were doing is incredibly dangerous. To be honest with you, Joan, you're right. This kind of thing has been going on for years. I'm surprised it hasn't happened before.
Oh, yeah.
So is it just recently now? I'll try to get an expert on with this. Is it just now that we're seeing Cuba be more aggressive and trying to get these folks that are helping people, escape Cuba? Is it now that they're getting more aggressive? Or is this just the first time that they've been able to catch some of these folks, apparently, allegedly in the act, and this is the first time that they have decided to engage? So there's a lot that we don't know, but we'll have to see how this whole thing plays out. Marco Rubio, he is on the case. J.D. Vance is on the case. I guarantee you Donald Trump is going to have something to say about this as well. It is 5:15 on Super Talk 99.7, and Joan's got somebody's got the traffic right now at 5:15. Who is it, Joan, or
Yeah,
is
I'll take it.
All right, Joan, please go.
Okay, so we've got just a minor delay this morning if you're traveling on 65 heading the northbound lanes. Starts around the Goodlettsville area and heads up for a couple of miles toward White House. Looks like that may just be a volume delay. Things are okay on 40 and 24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It is 5:15. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And by the way, you can always watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us on X and Rumble and all the other places. And you can also download our podcasts anytime, and you can listen to us or watch us anytime you want. I always say the 5 o'clock hour is one of my favorite hours of the 4. Basically,
because it's out of control.
Because, well, sometimes it's out of control.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's also more subdued. By the way, you know what I'm really looking forward to today, Joan? At 6:35, I'm going to speak to a reporter. I think she's from the Hill. But there's word now that the battle with the drug cartels could be moving from, south of the border in Mexico into Southern California.
Makes total sense.
It does make total sense.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that. We also have a lot of, State of the Union reaction. Do you think the Democrats know that they screwed up big time? Do you think that they've got regret with not pulling Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib aside and say, shut the hell up?
Do you know how earlier this week the BAFTAs happened and that guy with Tourette syndrome kept on yelling things?
Yes.
Megyn Kelly says that Ilhan Omar is that guy.
They've got their own version of Tourette's, right? It's like, would it be like trumpets?
Yeah, except trumpets make me think that they're
like pastries.
No, I was thinking that maybe they're like the Rockettes.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
because it's New York and all.
Anyway, so as a matter of fact, Ilhan Omar has been out there talking, and she has been asked if she regrets what she did. And I know that, Joan, you will be shocked at her answer, which the answer to that is no. So we'll talk. We've got a lot of stuff. DHS continues to be a train wreck. We're going to talk about that. And I got to tell you, the not DHS, DCS, Department of Children's Services in Tennessee. Word has come out now. This was earlier in the week, and there've been some reaction to this. I've been covering this story for a long time about the Department of Children's Services in the state of Tennessee, where we have kids, and this is so heartbreaking, because we have kids whose children, these kids, their parents have died, or their parents are just not fit parents, and they end up, the state takes custody of them, and they're basically staying or living in offices, in DCS offices. How horrible is that? So we have a lack of, and we may actually take calls on this, we have a lack of foster parents in the state of Tennessee. On top of that, we have Department of Children's Services who clearly are not able to care for these kids. There's been a new report that was released earlier this week, and it shows that some of these kids, Joan and Sam, some of these kids are in these DCS offices, and they're taking meth.
Which is you told me that this morning, and I'm still aghast over that. Like, what?
They're taking meth. There was also an episode where an older kid in DCS custody, if you will, was trafficking a younger kid. Horrifying.
Sickening.
And so you know what DCS did? And I'm going to get into all the details on this because there's a lot to this segment. So you know what DCS did? They kind of slapped the kids on the wrist and just put them right back in there with the general population of kids that is in DCS custody.
I might be able to get you an expert for tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, if you can, that'd be great. I'll tell the story today. But
you can't make fun of me when you're on the phone with her.
Why would I make fun of you?
Well, because it's my mom.
Oh, is it your mom?
Yeah, she worked for DCS when she was in law school, and she has worked with them pretty much her entire career in some capacity.
Why can't you get her for me today?
Because I have to tell her she needs to be up earlier. She's old.
How old is your mom?
Excuse me?
63.
63.
Hey, Joan, how old are you? How old are you, Joan?
Not 63.
But
I'm younger, but I still think that 63 is not old.
You know what, Sam? Them's fighting words. I'm 5 years away from being 63. And, today's 63, Joan. Just go with me here on this because I've noticed something. And I've said this before, and I'm the knock on wood. But when my dad was 58, he had already had I think at least one heart. I know at least one heart attack, maybe two.
Yeah.
I think today's 58, 59, 61-year-old is a lot different than, the older people of yesteryear.
I agree.
With no offense to your mom, because your mom, I bet your mom is very, young at heart and spirit and mind and body as well.
She had to raise me, so that took some years off her life.
Amen.
Well, we'll call those Sam mom years. Because 63 in Sam mom years is like 75. I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah, no, it's pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, because I remember when I was younger, and Sam, how old are you? You're 30, right?
29.
29. So,
Creeping up there.
I remember, let me tell you something. When you're my age, that creeping up there, time flies by really fast.
So fast.
Man, I got to tell you. But I think people these days are younger, minded, and also younger in, age, body, spirit, that whole thing. And I don't know why that is. Is it because, Joan, that our generation, me and Joan's generation, I think we got the news pretty early that smoking was bad.
Yeah.
I think that we got the word pretty early that eating really badly was bad for your heart, and having a balanced diet was actually really good. I don't drink that much. And really, honestly, I don't think I've had one drink since New Year's Eve. So
really? Wow.
Yeah, I've pretty much stopped drinking, and I'm exercising. And I think a lot of people, Joan, our age, look at you. You play golf almost every day when you can. So, I mean, I think that the older generation these days is a lot different than the generations of years past.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm about 70 pounds, 80 pounds lighter than I was when I was in my 30s. There's
really?
that as well.
That much?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I could even go back probably 20 years.
Wow.
And talk about how I was, 230, 240 pounds, and I weighed in this morning about 158, trying to get back down to 155. I'm one good flu away from
Stop
being where I
it.
want to be at 155.
That's not how you lose weight, and you know it.
It is.
It works. It's
Listen,
a natural process.
Joan, when you've got Eye of the Tiger and you're trying to get back down to 155, I'll do anything. I need a good food poisoning is what I need. Whatever, moving right along. All right, it is 5:23 on Super Talk 99.7. All right, Joan does have the news coming up at 5:30. Joan.
Yeah, we'll tell you what we know about NES's plans for your electric bills. Also, 4 Americans will deal with the story that are gunned down by the Cuban Coast Guard. Got a few more details on that coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Sam, you want to play something? But 5:27, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, that was on me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard what happened.
It was an old man brain fart.
The commercials were playing, and I, for whatever reason, turned on a switch that cuts the audio to my headphones, and I thought that we were had dead air. So I stupidly get on the radio and say, "Hey Sam, do you want to play something over the commercials?" I don't know why I did that. I just did. They do say that the mind is the first to go.
Yeah, it is.
By the way, Robert says, "Hey, Sam, tell Dan if he wants food poisoning to lose that extra, 3 pounds to get down to 155. All you got to do is eat more rotten fish, Dan," which is something that happened to me a couple of years ago when Johnny and Ken were with me, and I got food poisoning because I bought some fish at Publix, and for whatever reason, I let it go a couple of days.
Bad news.
Listen, it was fresh when I bought it. And then I waited a couple of days, and I stupidly said, "Well, it smells fishy, but I know that fish is supposed to smell like fish," and so I cooked it and I ate it.
Man.
I'll do you one better. I had a couple of bad oysters in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't find out till I got to Houston.
Ooh, okay.
Ouch.
I was out at a bar with my now wife, her uncle, and her grandmother when things happened. And this is the first time meeting her uncle, and also the first time I've gone on a trip with her grandmother, and I was pretty much paralyzed for the next 2 days.
I bet you made a great impression.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Their upstairs bathroom was never the same.
Ate some bad oysters. Let's see here.
I lost 11 pounds, by the way.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Whoa, hang on. That sounds good.
That's what I say, Joan.
Sorry.
It was a
bit
little
of food
painful.
poisoning. Listen, if it doesn't hurt, you're not trying.
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. That's exactly right. All right, we got to go. It is 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7. Coming up, you're not going to believe what Ilhan Omar said on CNN about her outbursts during the State of the Union. We've got a lot to do today. It is 5:30, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're drying out later this morning. It'll be partly sunny today, a high near 60. And right now we're at 53 with some fog and mist. NES customers still have no idea whether their electric bills will rise to pay for the winter storm recovery. Here's NES CEO Teresa Broyles-Applin.
We are taking action to mitigate having to increase rates as a result of the storm. FEMA's first line on storm recovery, storm cost recovery, that takes time. However,
Channel 4's Danielle Ledbetter on the changes that NES says it's making to respond to the potential severe weather damage this spring.
They're changing the way they trim trees, increasing the clearance area from 10 feet to 15 feet for all main lines. They will now trim from the ground all the way up past power poles. Also, an outside contractor has been hired to fly planes and special sensors over all 4,800 miles of lines to look for any problems.
Now, all of that cost millions of dollars on top of the nearly $140 million NES already spent on storm recovery. 4 people, all U.S. residents, were killed aboard a speedboat after a shootout with the Cuban Coast Guard yesterday. The Cuban government claims the 10 people on that boat were Cuban residents of the U.S. who were armed for a, quote, infiltration for terrorist purposes. ABC News contributor Steve Ganyard says this may have been more of a smuggling operation.
It appears that the boat is registered in Florida, but we do know that there's been decades-long fast boat trade where people have paid a lot of money to have these fast boats, these cigarette boats and high-speed boats, go down to Cuba and pull their loved ones offshore.
Yeah, whether that boat was inside Cuban territorial waters or not will likely determine if the U.S. takes action. Stick around. Your traffic is up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Things are starting to slow down. Just volume delays so far. It's on 24, the westbound side in the Laverne area. You also have some delays on 24 heading in around the Joelton area, and on 65 southbound as well around Goodlettsville. 40 is looking good so far. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open, very active today. Thank you very much. 615-737-9986, 615-737 WWTN. So I'm going to play a little bit of Ilhan Omar. So the fallout continues, of course, Donald Trump's State of the Union address. And one of the things that a lot of people are talking about is, how did the president's speech land? You know, when the president is speaking, right? You've seen this, Joan, a million times. I know that I have. Where when the president is speaking and the networks will have like a real-time reaction graph. You've seen this? And so the president says a particular thing, and then you've got a bunch of various people of different political ideologies reacting to it. So Fox News had one of these real-time election or reaction graphs. And when the president talked about Minnesota fraud,
there's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe.
And you got, of course, you hear Ilhan Omar screaming in the background.
So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
So as President Trump, because I can tell you when I watched that, my blood, of course, started boiling because it reminded me of that story, which I find so abhorrent, all of that Somali-driven fraud in Minnesota. So the story from Fox News, the graph shows mixed reactions from the panel. This is how they say it. The panel, assembled by polling group Maslansky and Partners and comprising of 29 Democrats, 30 independents, and 41 Republicans, gave real-time reactions as Donald Trump spoke about Somali fraud. The reactions were displayed on a line graph where high values represented positive reactions and low values indicated negative reactions. Donald Trump, talking about the corruption, was plundering America and said the most stunning example was in Minnesota, where welfare fraud has been a focal point, and a child nutrition program scheme in particular led to dozens of prosecutions under the Biden administration. A line graph showing Republican voters were receptive as Donald Trump spoke. Democrat voters had a negative reaction, and independents were neutral. You know, I am forever dismayed by these independents. Like, I just remember that one day, Joan, that I just went off on independents.
I think I do.
Like, who the hell are these people? And why don't they ever have any kind of a reaction to the bad things that are happening in this country because of Democrats, right? So no big shock with the Democrats, right, having a negative reaction. Republicans frustrated with the lack of law and order in our country. Democrats hate Donald Trump, so anything that Donald Trump says is, you know, for the Democrats, they're going to go opposite of what he says. So they're totally cool with all of the fraud. They're totally cool with these, frankly, Somali pirates plundering America. I don't understand the independents remaining neutral on this, but okay, whatever. We all remember the moment when Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib started screaming at the president, right?
They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Now, we all know that that was a trap. We all know that. I think, do you know what, Joan? I believe that we even talked about this during our pre-State of the Union discussion there at the State of the Union, where we talked about Donald Trump and will he, I think we did. I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, but I know that this has been a topic of conversation. Did the Democrats learn? That's right, we did. We talked about it because we talked about, will the Democrats be able to get in touch with their human side and be able to stand for these incredible American stories where, you know, like last year, as we talked about yesterday, they didn't stand up for an 11-year-old with cancer. This year, they wouldn't stand for, you know, the families of victims who had died at the hands of violence because of their soft on crime policies, right? So we did talk about that. We knew going in that Donald Trump was going to do this. I mean, it was obvious what he was going to do. Yet the Democrats took the bait. Thank you, Ilhan Omar. Thank you, Rashida Tlaib. So Ilhan Omar, she's on with Wolf Blitzer yesterday, and, you know, she was not repentant because somebody like Ilhan Omar cannot be repentant. They're more repugnant, to be perfectly honest. Even her own leader, Hakeem Jeffries, said, do not interrupt the president. But on CNN, she made no apologies.
Should you have just boycotted the address, and do you think you violated the guidelines set out by your own leader?
No, I think it was really unavoidable. The president talked about protecting Americans, and I just had to remind him that his administration was responsible for killing 2 of my constituents.
I mean, listen, again, not to belabor the point, but these people would not stand to honor the mother of Irina Zarutska, the Ukrainian woman killed by a man released by Democrats on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina. We all know the story. We were all horrified by that story. Now, Renee Good and Alex Preddy put themselves in a dangerous position by going after law enforcement in Minnesota, goading law enforcement, provoking law enforcement. Irina was just sitting on a train and was killed by that scumbag released because of their soft on crime policies championed by Democrats. So the question is, does she, Ilhan Omar, does she actually have any regrets?
I do not. And I think many people look at that moment when the president says it is our responsibility to protect Americans. And he does not acknowledge the fact that 2 Americans, 2 of my constituents, 2 of our neighbors were killed. And it was important for me to just remind.
You know what's interesting? This is the same party that refuses to say the name Laken Riley.
The American people that the president and his administration was responsible for killing 2 American citizens.
So now, apparently, Joan, there is another story that Sam's going to tell us about, something about an illegal alien taking out an American.
Yeah, Harris County, Texas, yesterday, Manuel Neri Mendoza was arrested for murder and is accused of running a red light and killing a 42-year-old grandmother with her 3-year-old grandchild in the back seat who survived the crash with minor injuries. Mendoza has an immigration detainer hold and has 2 prior DWI convictions. So you had 2 other opportunities to get him out of the country. And now a girl who I can only assume is maybe in her late teens, early 20s, is without her mother while raising a 3-year-old.
That is so incredibly sad. You think, Joan, you think the Democrats will acknowledge that situation in Harris County, which is Houston?
No. No, I do not.
Is Houston a sanctuary city? Can you look that up for me? I know that Texas is not a sanctuary state, but I'm wondering if Houston is Harris County, whatever, is a sanctuary city.
No.
No. So I wonder why they were unable then to pick this guy up. All right, what were you going to say, Joan?
So I just found something that I just think is so interesting. You remember when back in 2009, Joe Wilson, the GOP congressman, shouted liar.
You lie.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here is how the press handled this maybe the day after.
South Carolina Congressman Joe Wilson had a lot of explaining to do a day after he shattered the decorum of the House chamber during the president's speech.
He shattered the decorum.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
And Nancy Pelosi is looking like, who said that?
Got her sucking on a lemon look, does she?
Yeah, she looks so mad. So, he got dragged.
Oh, he got roasted.
Yes. Obama, of course, he said, I'm a big believer that we all make mistakes. And he apologized quickly and without equivocation. And I'm appreciative of that. They just dragged him. And in the meantime, Ilhan Omar is practically throwing up on the floor with her, gaggle
vomiting.
of words.
Yeah.
You spare us all. Just spare us all.
Well, listen, as I'm playing this audio, she is, as I said, unrepentant. She's actually repugnant. Can you look up repugnant? I think I'm using that right. We do have some numbers, by the way, Joan, on what people thought of the president's speech. These numbers sound pretty good to me. 60, and by the way, you're talking about Nancy Pelosi, Joan?
Yeah.
The same Nancy Pelosi that ripped Donald Trump's State of the Union. Remember that a couple years ago?
I do remember. Also, a lack of decorum.
Nancy Pelosi is a walking lack of decorum. 64% said they reacted very or somewhat positively to the speech overall. 36% they had a very positive reaction to Donald Trump's speech. 38% had a negative reaction. But, when you look at 38% having a negative reaction, roughly 50% of the American people are Democrats.
Yeah.
So obviously he did reach some moderate Democrats. And by the way, this was a CNN poll.
Oh, wow, that says a lot.
Yeah. And we touched on some of this yesterday. 65% saying that they had confidence in Donald Trump's ability to provide real leadership for the country. So a lot of positives in the polling for the president. Washington Examiner says this. 40% said they had no real confidence in Donald Trump's ability to manage the cost of living, while 60% said they had a lot of confidence or some confidence in Trump's ability to make the cost of living more affordable. The poll also showing 62% approving of Donald Trump's proposed immigration policies. So I think overall, even some Donald Trump haters saw the president, listened to the president, knowing what the Biden administration did to America, and realizing still, you know what? The Trump administration, I don't believe, Dan speaking here, I don't believe that all is lost for the midterm elections. I do have some receipts on that. I'll talk about that coming up after the news at 6 o'clock. Final question from Wolf Blitzer to Ilhan Omar. Do you have any regrets?
Did you do the right thing by actually showing up there?
I brought 4 Minnesotans as guests for the Minnesota delegation. It was important for us to be there, to bear witness, to hold the space for our constituents that have lived through an occupation from federal law enforcement, that have been terrorized, that have seen our neighbors been killed and traumatized in so many ways. And so, no, I think it was really important for my constituents to see me there. It was really important to my constituents to hear that I was reminding the president that Renee Good and Alex Preddy were killed under this administration.
All right. So there you go. I wonder.
Unrepentant.
Unrepentant. Did you look up repugnant?
I did. Repugnant means extremely distasteful or unacceptable.
Okay. I was using it right for a change.
Congratulations.
I know,
I'm really
right?
proud of you.
Dan, the way you like your steak cooked is repugnant.
By the way, speaking of not repugnant, so just staying on the Somali fraud going on in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what happened yesterday? So J.D. Vance and Dr. Oz, because, J.D. Vance is now the fraud czar.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So J.D. Vance, who I really, really, really like J.D. Vance. He was talking about it. Vice President J.D. Vance and Dr. Oz halting $250 million in federal Medicaid payments to Tim Walz's Minnesota until the fraud stops once and for all.
Administration cracking down on the people and the organizations that are defrauding Americans. So we're announcing today that we have decided to temporarily halt certain amounts of Medicaid funding that are going to the state of Minnesota in order to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligations seriously to be good stewards of the American people's tax money. Now,
I mean, that's all we're asking, isn't it, Joan? We just want these states to be good stewards of the money that we are forced to give or robbed of by the federal government.
What is this going to mean? What this means is that, first of all, the providers on the ground in Minnesota have actually already been paid. The state has paid those providers the money. What we're doing is we are stopping the federal payments that will go to the state government until the state government takes its obligations seriously to stop the fraud that's being perpetrated against the American taxpayer. There are a few different ways that we're doing that. There are a few different affirmative actions that we're taking today. Dr. Oz is going to talk about those, but let me talk a little bit about the spirit of this and why we're doing it.
We're doing it because the Somalis are a bunch of pirates and they're stealing taxpayer dollars.
One of the examples of fraud that we've seen in Minnesota that we verified that is just awful is that a program that existed to ensure that autistic children had access to some after-school services has made a number of people rich.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of them are Somalis. Now, let's go back into the, Joan, the way back machine where Bill Clinton, this just shows you how the Democrat Party has changed. When Bill Clinton was talking about illegal immigration and fraud and about how the American people were getting ripped off.
It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
I mean, that audio and video, it kind of went viral, if you will, yesterday because it does show the difference between Democrats of 95 and the Democrats of today.
Everybody's standing, too, and applauding.
And everybody's standing and applauding. 1995. And now here we have the Democrats yelling back at the president during this year's State of the Union, basically being their repugnant selves and not accepting responsibility for the immigration or the fraud that they have perpetuated upon Americans. All right, it is 5:53 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Got a lot more straight ahead. Joan has the news at 6. Joan.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton is deposed by Congress today over her Epstein ties. But guess what? It's not going to be in D.C. We'll tell you where this is happening. Also, the Music City Loop gets the ultimate green light. Those stories coming up at 6 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
558 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends and welcome on in to Nashville's Morning News. It is Thursday, February 26th, and you were talking about the ills of illegal immigration and how it relates to the State of the Union and all of that. And we apparently missed, Joan may have had this in the news, I don't know, but we missed a story, at least I did, about an illegal that has been arrested here in Davidson County.
Yeah, on Monday, Carlos Alfredo Cruz Alvarado was arrested for attempted criminal homicide, attempted especially aggravated kidnapping, especially aggravated stalking, and harassment. He's currently being held downtown. There's a notice on his information. This offender is being held for the following reasons and is not eligible for release at this time. Domestic violence, which kicks in an automatic 12-hour hold, which is court ordered, and then they have him on an ICE detainer. So this is what happens when you get cooperation. But he had a public intoxication charge in 2023 that was dismissed. There's been opportunities. So
basically what happens is there's opportunities to deport these people, and then they let them go, they let them go, they let them go until they do something like aggravated kidnapping and aggravated whatever the heck it was that this guy has these charges against him.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? They let him go.
That's exactly right, Joan.
And of course, under race, guess what they have?
What's that?
White. Because that's how they do it. That's how they keep on saying it's white supremacists. It's white, right-wing whiteys.
Somebody might want to tell Phil Williams that.
Yeah.
There was another video. What is wrong with him? Anyway, whatever.
Oh, yeah. You talking about his post yesterday?
Yes, whatever. I don't even care. I don't care.
And by the way.
What?
I had that story 2 days ago.
So Joan is especially aggravated with us, Sam.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
I'm used to it by now.
Oh, stop it. Lord. Anyway. It is 6 o'clock, Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Rain is going to end maybe late this morning, and then things start to get mild around here. Partly sunny skies today, around 60. Right now, it is 52 degrees. Behind closed doors, Hillary Clinton is appearing before U.S. House lawmakers today. For her deposition, though, lawmakers won't even make her travel to Washington, D.C. They are assembling in her current hometown of Chappaqua, New York. It's part of a congressional investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, starting off 2 days of depositions that will also include her hubby, former President Bill Clinton.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle had threatened to hold the former first couple in criminal contempt of Congress after they initially refused to testify in person. But in the end, they agreed. The Clintons have long denied they knew of any criminal conduct by Epstein or his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. They say they cut ties with Epstein before his crimes came to light and have not been accused of any wrongdoing.
That's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. The Music City Loop got the final lease and permit approval needed from Governor Bill Lee yesterday. Now, construction gets underway in earnest, according to Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. He was on the Matt Murphy show yesterday.
Very excited that's underway, and coincidentally, is well timed. Yesterday in our Senate Commerce Committee, I advanced some legislation to create the authority that will govern not just the Boring Company, but any other company that would like to possibly explore the idea of a subterranean type of transportation system. Right now, I think the Boring Company is the only viable one that is there, but at some future date, there could be others.
Now, the Boring Company project is fully funded by Elon Musk's company, and it will not cost taxpayers a thing. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
There's no slowdown in the AI boom. The leading chip maker watched its fourth quarter revenue soar 73% and its profits nearly double from a year ago. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang says markets have miscalculated the AI threat to software companies. Those markets, by the way, enjoyed a second straight day of gains, with the Dow Jones rising 308 points yesterday to close at 49,482. The S&P 500 picked up 0.8%. The Nasdaq gained 1.25%. Panera is introducing its first value menu featuring soups, salads, and sandwiches, each costing $4.99. The fine print, you have to pick at least 2 items, so your total meal price will start at just under $10. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
We have slight losses on the futures market so far this morning. Traffic is up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, in Whites Creek on 24 eastbound lanes, there's a crash that blocks off the left lane just before Old Hickory Boulevard North. Then on the eastern split, I-24 westbound right at I-40, there's a crash reported in that spot this morning. That, of course, is backing up traffic on 24 west as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well. And there is a lot of stories that I want to cover this morning. I think coming up at 6:35, I'm going to talk about Stephen A. Smith and his reaction to not only Donald Trump's State of the Union, but also what is going on with the Democrats. So I hate to do this. How about 7:00? I'm trying to set up an interview. I've had a guest cancel on me, and I'm trying to get somebody else on. And I'm going back and forth with E.J. Antoni. So let's see, 7:05 Central Time is what I would like to do, because he wrote a great, E.J. Antoni did a great, I don't know what you call it, op-ed, a piece, opinion piece, whatever. And he's talking about, he's making the case for Donald Trump's economy. Okay, good. We got E.J. Antoni for 7:05 here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. By the way, 7:35, I cannot wait, Joan. 7:35, we're going to speak to a reporter by the name of Allie Bradley, and she's going to talk about the latest with the drug cartels, you know, because we took out El Mencho.
Yeah.
And the worry is that after the death of El Mencho and all of that violence that we saw in Mexico and Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara, I think it was. Well, now they're worried that it's going to start to hit Southern California, which is where I'm from. So we're going to talk about the possibility of this drug cartel violence hitting Southern California, which of course means, not only San Diego, but if you go further north, you could talk about Los Angeles as well. So we've got a lot to talk about. It is 6:08 on Nashville's Morning News. Super text line is open. Thank you. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. We've had a lot of conversations over the years on the state of Tennessee's Department of Children's Services and the conditions that kids are forced to live under when they don't have a home. And Murphy Show did a great job of talking about this yesterday, and this is part of a report from Channel 5.
Very tragic stuff, and it raises questions about abuse and supervision for kids staying in DCS offices and transitional homes.
This is horrifying, and what is horrifying about this is that, and I've lost track of how many years this has been going on, but I think this goes back to pre-COVID, where we were talking about kids who have been abandoned by their parents, or their parents passed away, or whatever happened. They end up in the custody of DCS, and then they start living in the offices of DCS. This has been going on, I think, since 2019 at least, but it's been a long time here in the state of Tennessee. 7 years ago, DCS started showing signs of severe placement shortages. Parents simply don't want to take in these kids with troubled lives, and so they have to go somewhere, and they end up sleeping in cots in DCS offices, cots on floors and couches and so forth. And so now there is this new report that shows that the situation not only is still happening, but it seems like it's getting worse, because now not only are kids sleeping in less than desirable or ideal situations, but now there is drug abuse involved.
It found a child using meth while staying in a DCS office, raising questions about who is watching them.
You can't expect kids to stay in offices and not have terrible things happen.
Attorney Marsha Lowry has brought a class action lawsuit against DCS on behalf of foster kids in state custody.
If kids have access to meth, then what kind of supervision are they getting? There's just no supervision for these kids.
This is absolutely crazy. How does a kid, so I don't even know what meth looks like. Sam, you probably do. What does meth look like? Joan, you know what meth looks like? Out of the three of us.
A crystalline substance akin to like rock salt, but
so is
uglier.
it easy to sneak in meth into a place? Like, in other words, the question is...
People sneak it into prison.
Okay. So these kids, and there's different ways to take meth. You can
Joan, don't ask how they sneak things into prison. You don't want to know.
Okay.
No, Joan, you don't want to know. Even I know that.
Okay.
Why do you know?
I've watched movies and stuff. So you can take meth, you can swallow it, you can inhale the fumes. I think you can shoot it too, right? You can shoot it up with a needle.
Yeah, under the preferred area for people's under like the toenails.
Oh God. Okay. Very good. But, the kids are now sneaking this meth into a DCS office. And so the question is a legit one. Number one, how are they doing this? How many kids are we talking about in these offices, and who is watching them? And how did they get the meth while in DCS custody? And so there's been a look with this commission now. They found huge issues within DCS. It's been called a blistering review of supervision lapses, weak documentation, and unsafe environments within Tennessee's DCS placements. But what's crazy about this story is that they find this kid with meth, right? But Channel 5 says that DCS actually dropped the ball when they found the kid with the meth.
But there was no follow-up or investigation to see if other kids had access to meth.
We have between 6 and 15 kids every night in offices across the state.
Late last year, the comptroller blasted DCS for housing hundreds of kids in offices overnight in 2025. One child spent more than 100 nights in a DCS office.
I mean, this is nuts. And Joan, you know what's interesting is every time I talk about this, people have experiences or have experienced this. So what I want to do is I want to take the phones off hold. And if you have something to say about this, if you have some experiences with this, the phone number is 615-737-9986. If you want to comment on this via telephonic communication, 615-737-9986. One of the issues that people always talk about is that there's fewer and fewer foster homes for these kids, temporary or otherwise. In our state, the state of Tennessee, the number of foster homes is rapidly declining, but the need for them hasn't. Now, I think that there's a few things that are going on. Parents are getting burned out on doing it because these kids obviously are a challenge. The other thing is today's young kids are a lot more challenging, I believe, than in years past. The addictions, and you can back me up on this, Joan. Today's kids that are challenged, they are more challenging than in years past because I believe that their addictions are worse. Drugs are more easily accessible. They are addicted to video games because they have been ignored by their parents or whatever has happened. And they're seeing things that they shouldn't on the internet.
And there's no shame. There's no shame left because nobody shames them. There's no standard. There's no moral standard that says this is the way it should be.
Yep.
Because the left has just derided everybody who tries to be morally a good moral person. They're derided. And so these kids don't believe that being that person has any value at all.
Oh, Joan, you're such a Bible thumper.
I know.
Right? I mean, that's what we hear. And also remember on the left, any abhorrent thing that you want to do, go right on ahead.
Yep.
No limits. Just be you. And so things are now so bad that DCS has a number of things going on. Of course, a high staff turnover is one. But now the folks at DCS, they do say that things are getting better. At least that's what they say.
DCS Commissioner Margie Quinn told lawmakers earlier this month fewer kids are staying in offices at the start of 2026. She also put up pictures of facilities DCS plans to build called welcome centers all across the state that would house kids when they first come into state custody.
We have a plan, and it's going to continue to improve because the legislature has resourced DCS with historic resources.
Right. All right. So here, you want to know what the problem is? So I've been covering this for a long time. This has been a long-term problem. These shiny new homes with all of this funding, they won't even break ground until later this year or late this year. Now, I don't know if that means October, November, December, but who knows how long these shiny new homes are going to take to build. Meantime, we still have kids that are still sleeping in the DCS offices.
The Second Look Commission found a child with a history of being sex trafficked and recruiting others ran away from a transitional home with a younger child and trafficked the younger child.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, my gosh.
So you had a kid who escapes, takes a younger kid, and ends up trafficking the younger kid.
The younger child.
This is a really bad situation.
The report found DCS simply returned the older child to the transition home with other children, meaning the runaway could recruit others for trafficking.
What do we expect to happen to these kids? These are kids who are all being destroyed by these circumstances. These kids are just getting worse and worse.
The Second Look Commission found repeated runaways at transition homes were not properly documented. One child ran away 8 times, but only 2 reports were filed.
But we are going to work our way out of this problem. And in the meantime, we're going to do a better job of monitoring what's going on in the transitional homes.
Why is this taking so long? Why is this taking so long? Things are getting worse, not better. And these kids have been failed by their parents, depending on the situation. These kids have been failed by their parents. Now they're being failed by the state. You know, Joan, who's been on this?
Who's that?
Our buddy Cameron Smith. So Cameron, you know him. He's filled in for me a few times, obviously. Everybody knows Cameron Smith. He's on with Murphy's show all the time. Writes for the Tennessean. And he's got a lot of experience with DCS, and his family actually fosters kids. Well, he happened to be on with Murphy's show yesterday. And again, he's been talking about this for quite some time.
This is a broken system. Let me prove it to you real quick that it's not about money. They've had an information system that has been deprecated since 2008. It has stopped, basically being sufficient and started to fall apart since then. To Governor Lee's credit, said we need a new system. The new system that tracks the kids in DCS custody, all the DCS their information system has a budget of $73.2 million.
What?
Yeah, it's experienced multiple delays. It's going to go live in October of 2026. We had consultants out the yin yang, right? And this between federal funding and state funding, $73.2 million on the information system.
Unbelievable. So looking at that money that the state legislature has approved, it is a lot. So as Cameron says, money isn't the problem. It looks like management is the problem. And it's one thing to say, oh yeah, things are going to get better. Okay, but when will they actually get better? Because again, not to belabor the point, but this problem has been going on for a long time. So why are we just now starting to build these homes? And what is the deal with this, many millions of dollars worth of communication system that has been delayed over and over and over again? Some of this, I'm going to be honest with you, Joan, some of this sounds like California level stupidity. And we, as a state of Tennessee, we're better than this. So what the heck is going on? Got a lot of people want to talk about this, and we're going to. The phone number is 615-737-9986. Joan, I know that we missed traffic. Is there anything going on the roads?
Let's see. We've got a crash in Whites Creek on 24 eastbound before Old Hickory Boulevard, the left lane blocked. And then Clarksville, 24 west before Martin Luther King Parkway. There is a crash in that spot as well. So that's it.
All right, very good, Joan. And what's coming up in the news at 6:30?
I'm sorry, do it again.
What is coming up in the news at 6:30?
Oh, coming up in the news at 6:30.
Yes.
An amazing story about a Putnam County couple who was arrested. But wait till you hear how this arrest went down. It's just an amazing story coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here. I keep seeing over and over again in Dr. Horn's reviews at Vision for Life, it's his patients. And you know what they're saying? I should not have waited. And I couldn't agree more. I actually said the same thing. Before my lens replacement surgery, I dealt with the constant hassle of glasses and contacts. Reading and driving and working, everything simply felt harder than it needed to be. Now, these days, I can see clearly at every distance, and it's honestly changed my day-to-day life, and I love it. So when I read these reviews from patients saying the same thing, I wish that I'd done this sooner, it really does hit home because, yes, indeed, that was me as well. So this is what you need to do. You need to call my friends at Vision for Life and Dr. Horn, 615-436-2020. Find them online at visionforlife.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. They can help you. If you're dealing with age-related vision loss, cataracts, or you're just tired of blurry vision, do yourself a favor and do not wait. Dr. Horn at Vision for Life, he does take the time to evaluate your eyes and create a plan that is right for you. The procedure is quick, recovery is fast, and the results life-changing. Visionforlife.com. Dan Mandis here, and we are indeed heading into March. Summer is just months away, but the work to get that beach bod back begins right now. And my friends at Contours, they can help you get it back with FDA-cleared red light technology. Now, Contours is going to help you target those areas that you hate, whether it's your belly, your arms, or your legs. Whatever problem area you have, they can solve that problem. No pain, no surgery, no downtime, just results. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I usually fall asleep during my treatments. That's how relaxing it is. Now, real men and women from Franklin and across Middle Tennessee have been checking out Contours. And yes, we've been seeing real results. I've gone through this, and Matt Murphy has gone through it as well. Your beach trip isn't that far away. Let Contours help you get rid of those trouble spots. And right now, the first 10 callers get a special introductory price of just $99. That's right, a special introductory price of just $99. Remember, you see results or it is free. That is what I love about Contours. First 10 callers right now, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960. First 10 callers get that special introductory price for just $99. Find them online, contoursllc.com. .527, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking about the dysfunction within the Department of Children's Services. And I've got somebody who wants to remain anonymous on line one. You are a current foster parent?
Talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. Yes, I am a current foster parent. Been doing it for a long time. And there is a whole lot to this DCS and fiasco, I guess. And a lot of it is not DCS's fault. A lot of it is the overloading of the system. There are so many kids and so few foster homes. there is a tremendous amount of hoops you have to jump through in order to be a foster parent and remain a foster parent.
Do you know what? Hey, let me just... You're right. That was part of my research. I actually didn't include it in my monologue, and I should have. But one of the things that they said is that there are a lot of hoops to jump through, and so that is discouraging parents from taking kids in.
I mean, that is something that's necessary because you have to vet these foster homes. I mean, you have to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
These kids, I'm telling you, a lot of these kids, I first wanted to call in whenever you said something about, their parents have gave up on them or, their parents have passed away. And I'll tell you, probably, I would say maybe 5% of the foster kids, in my experience, maybe 5% have had parents, if that, have had parents that passed away. 90% of it is parents choosing drugs over their children.
And that is obviously heartbreaking. And then they come into a situation where...
And these kids have been taught to lie since they learned to talk. They would rather listen to my wife and I, when we first started this, we were going to take teenagers, and we have taken majority.
Well, hey, hold on. Hey, hold on. Oh, here's what I need to do. I got a lot of people that want to talk about this. And so what I want to do, I'm going to put you on hold. I want to hear about your experience. I also want to hear about the vetting process that these people, as you say, appropriately have to go through. But the sad fact of the matter is, as I said in my monologue on this, we have too many foster families who have decided they no longer want to foster. And at the same time, the need has not stopped. And so we're going to find out his story and a whole lot of other people that want to talk about this coming up next. Also coming up this hour, I should say next hour, we have E.J. Antoni. He's going to join us after the news at 7. Going to talk about Trumponomics, the Trump economy, and a lot of people are trying to attack it. But, E.J. Antoni and many others, by the way, are talking about positives within the economy. Also coming up, we're going to talk about what is going on with the war against the cartels, and could that war reach the interior of the United States, specifically Southern California? We've got a lot going on. It is 6:30 on WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A Putnam County couple arrested yesterday after first parking in a spot that was reserved for a sheriff's officer outside of the courthouse. Officers smelled marijuana, so they arrested the driver, 28-year-old Joa Dashnow, for possession. Then they realized there's a baby in the car. News 2's Andy Corden picks it up from there when officers grabbed the mom, Miranda Jobs, who is inside the clerk's office.
You know what else is a big problem?
Yeah.
The dope.
The what?
The dope.
I didn't even know he had
And then
that
you know what
problem.
else is the bigger problem? There's a kid in that car. Yep.
Yeah.
A search of the vehicle turns up drugs and a grinder that are in the baby's diaper bag.
No, I swear to God, I did not know he had it.
And then that car smells like marijuana. How old is that baby?
It's almost a year.
Almost a
old.
year.
Can I? It's probably my cigarette pack that smells like it.
It's freaking right there. That's your cigarette pack.
Yeah, that's probably why it smells like it.
Ultimately, both suspects are charged with child abuse and drug offenses.
And DCS took custody of that baby. FBI Director Kash Patel has fired at least 10 upper-level employees over their actions years ago. Here's Fox News' David Spunt.
The prior Bureau leadership obtained his phone records and phone records to current White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles back in 2022 and 2023. This eventually led into the Jack Smith special counsel investigation into then former President Donald Trump. We're told that 2 sources in the FBI say that Susie Wiles' attorney agreed to be recorded by FBI agents in 2023. She did not agree. We've reached out to her for comment. FBI Director Patel, in a statement to Fox News, calls this outrageous and deeply disturbing.
And Patel calls this an example of overreach by unelected government officials. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It is 6:33 on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here for Stoltzco, a great Tennessee company. they do continue to grow and expand. You know that at Stoltzco, they build those pole barns. I was obsessed with pole barns for a long time. They can serve as a garage, an event space, an equestrian building, even barn dominiums. Yeah, people can live, you can live in these pole barns. Again, we call them barn dominiums. These days, those barn dominiums are new and improved. When you go through my friends at Stoltzco, they're now offering you turnkey options. Now, that means that they handle the design, the construction, and the amazing finishing touches. You turn the key, and you are home with Stoltzco. Your new pole barn from Stoltzco can be used for anything. So if you have some land that needs a building for whatever you want, you've got to call my friends at Stoltzco. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-622-5992. 615-622-5992. You can also find them on Instagram and Facebook to see examples of their incredible work around Middle Tennessee. STOLTZCO, Stoltzco.com.
Still got that crash on 24 East and Whites Creek this morning with a left lane blocked off at Old Hickory Boulevard North. Also, Clarksville 24 West before Martin Luther King Parkway. That's exit 11. Another crash scene in that area. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking about the dysfunction at DCS. A big report has come out shining a light again on the problems at DCS, and you've got kids that are sleeping in the DCS offices, cots and floors and couches. There are also instances where kids are getting and sneaking meth into these offices. And also there is another story, another part of the story, where a kid in DCS custody who snuck out with a younger kid and started trafficking the kid. And one of the problems that they mentioned in this report is that there's very little follow-up to these problems. If I'm interpreting the story right, they'll slap these kids on the wrist and then put them back in with the other kids, meaning they could just do the same darn thing all over again. So I've been talking about this for a long time, and whenever I take calls on this, people have incredible stories about their experiences with DCS. And I've got one guy who is a current foster parent, and you were going to tell me you want to remain anonymous for obvious reasons, and you were talking about how, because some people are saying that the vetting process for foster parents is overkill. You've actually been through this. I understand why the process to vet foster parents could, I guess, be considered overkill. But you say that it's necessary. Talk about the process of fostering and how you get approved by the state.
Well, you have to go through classes, which isn't a big deal. You go through classes. By their schedule, normally takes about 6 weeks, but I think it's just a couple nights a week. It's been a long time since we took the classes, but they come out, they do a home study. You fill out all these questionnaires, things about your childhood, the way you were raised, how you view your parents, your children. They talk to them. Your biological children. They talk to a lot of different things, your references, stuff like that. I don't think the vetting process is too tough. I think that I know that in my opinion and from my experience, most of the foster parents that I know that have stopped being foster parents have stopped being foster parents because of the emotional toll, because of the inability to continue to help because of the strain it puts on your own family.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you this question. So, how long have you been fostering?
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years. Why did you decide? And by the way, kudos to you. How long have you been? You've been fostering for 5 years, and how many kids have you taken in?
A lot. We've adopted 2 out of foster care, but we've had probably 60 plus children through our home.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
I will tell you that, DCS and the agencies that they have contracted to help with placement, if they have a foster home that is a good foster home, they will fill your house to the brim. The reason these kids are sleeping in these offices is because they don't have anywhere for them to go.
Yeah.
The amount of turnover in the DCS, workforce and in these agencies is ridiculously high. And it's because of the workload, the emotional toll that these workers are going through, the loss of their complete loss of their personal life.
Right.
Because these people are on call, and even though there's an on-call person that you're supposed to call for after hours, those people rarely answer. And, you call the person that you deal with, and they work, they're on call. It's like they're a communication for emergency management agent.
So it sounds so let me ask this. I got a lot of people that want to talk about this, but so it sounds like the report on DCS is really demonizing, but when you zoom in with the actual employees that you deal with, these people are overworked and there's not enough of them. And
I am certain that there are definitely cases where they are not doing their job and the system is broken and, it's not working. I know that is the case.
Yeah.
There's that everywhere in everything. Every agency that works is for the government. That's the way it is. But there are a tremendous amount that really, really, really try to help.
Yeah.
But they can't. I
Well,
mean,
let me
go out to dinner with their family. They can't
Yeah.
do anything because, they're getting called for this and that and the other all the time.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Why do you do it?
Ask me whatever.
Why do you do it?
I am a Christian, and I felt the calling years ago to do it. And my wife did not share that calling. And we went to the annual convention for the Southern Baptist Annual Convention, and they had a speaker there one time that was the director of the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. And he got up and he talked for about an hour, and he went through a slideshow, and he did a lot of different things. And then on the way home from that, my wife told me, she said, well, I have that calling. And she signed us up for classes, and we took the classes and been doing it ever since. And there is such a need for these kids and teenagers especially, because nobody wants them.
Right. No, I get it.
Like, that's their mentality too. Nobody wants them, and they want to. I'm going to do whatever I can to get you out of my life, so I don't get attached to you, and then you shut down on me, and and then I'm put out again. That's the way these kids operate, and the ones that are new into it, that haven't learned that yet, or that come from a more loving environment being raised, they're trained by the ones that aren't.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely heartbreaking.
All right, so last question I've got like 20 seconds.
Okay.
So would you recommend people become foster parents?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's number one. That's number one.
Absolutely.
Number two, how can people find out more information about how to become a foster parent?
There's information everywhere. Just
Okay.
Google how to become a foster parent in Tennessee.
All right.
And
I got to run. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for calling in, and thank you for spreading the word about being a foster parent. I think that's great. I got all kinds of people, Joan, that want to talk about this. Leah, Christy, and Troy, and others. I'm going to get to you coming up next. And Joan, real quick, what is going on in the roads? Super Talk 99.7.
So we're looking at.
Sorry, that's my fault. They just kill her. Not you, Joan. Take the cart down. Joan, what's going on?
You've got delays in Whites Creek on 24 eastbound side before Old Hickory Boulevard North. That's a crash. The left lane's blocked off. Clarksville 24 west before ML King Parkway. That's a crash scene. Got a crash as well in Capitol View on 40 eastbound at Church Street. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I mean, listen, I like it better when Joan does it anyway. All right, 646, weather, occasional rain. Today, high of 61, feeling like 58. Ugh. Leah, thanks for calling on WTN Mount Juliet. Hey, Leah, go ahead.
Hey, I'm glad for that lead-in because he did a great job. I have a long family experience. I have not fostered. Many family and friends have. And what I would tell people is we just had a lady from an organization called Tennessee Kids Belong, encouraging churches to develop what they call RAP support training, because one of the reasons why they lose foster families is burnout. Like he was saying, they're on their own, and we need twice as many, according to this lady that spoke with us, foster families as they have right now. That's why they have 4,000 kids on the floor, because they have 4,000 in waiting and 4,000 placed. So it's just unbelievable, the need, and churches could go to Tennessee Kids Belong. And not only if one family in that church wanted to foster, you could develop a team around that person to support that person with food, with meals, with respite care, with play dates for kids, anything to help them survive the hardships of it and thrive and be able to stay foster families. You can also go to organizations like Agape Nashville and get the training, and with that you will also have the support of that not-for-profit that is completely focused
Yes.
on children and families, and that is where all the people that we know who have ever fostered have gone. They've gotten their training, they've gotten their support, and the children have come from DCS through Agape because they are trying to place these kids through responsible organizations. They cannot do it themselves. I don't like DCS. I have a social worker daughter who refused to work for them because it was total burnout, and you can't do what the child needs because there's not enough resources. Wherever the money's going, it's not going where it needs to be. And so I just would encourage people to pray hard, and if you cannot foster for whatever reason, we're not in a position to do that, find people who are, call this organization, develop these RAP training support groups where you can support people you know who foster. It doesn't have to be in your church.
Well, Leah, I appreciate it. Leah calling from Mount Juliet, 4618. And Leah, I know that you said that you're not a foster person. Please tell the people that you know that are fosters that we said thank you here at WTN. I know Matt feels very strongly about this situation as well. 4618, DCS pay blows for what they have to do. They want you to use your own personal vehicle to drive these kids to court, doctors, etc. A lot of people, this is 50-70, and fostering is extremely difficult. We did it for 2 years. People that can stay with it are heroes, and I absolutely agree with that. This is Christy in Smyrna on WTN. Christy, thank you for calling in. Go ahead.
Yes, Dan. I agree with all the prior callers, so I'm not going to go over any of that. But I think that DCS or the state should look at an alternative. In the past, since the early 2000s, there were places like Tennessee Preparatory School and those type of regional type areas that would take in the older children, and it was
is that Christy, what we would call like orphanages?
Kind of, yeah, but I mean it was more of a school situation. The kids got up, they went to school, they were given they were getting a lot of a normal type of schedule that a lot of times they don't get in their own homes. And these kids are, they're not bad. They're just, a lot of them are raised bad. And given a schedule, given consequences, being taught how to take care of themselves, that's what they need when they're teenagers. And we don't have anywhere for them to go, so of course they're acting up.
So Leah, then the question I would have is then we don't have those facilities now. They're building some of these facilities. I just don't know if they're big enough, and maybe I'll try to get DCS on the phone. But it seems to me that is what we need to do, which is it's almost like prep school a little bit, it sounds like, right?
It is. And the students weren't put in like 30 or 40 in a group. They lived in a dorm that would have 12 or 16 students. They were... it was more like a small family. It wasn't an easy way of doing things, but it certainly was more cost-effective, and it actually worked to make these kids get through the school system, to get their education, so that when they actually got out on their own, they could make a living. They had a future.
Yeah.
They're not kicked out at 18. They're kicked out when they get out of high school. So if you're 17 and you graduate, you stay until you're 18. But if you're, 18 or almost 19 and you still haven't graduated because you might have gotten behind over the years.
Oh, yeah. Christy, you bring up a great point. And I interviewed somebody. Pamela first set it up for me. Pamela, if you're listening, who was that musician that I interviewed? There was a musician, I interviewed him, a country star, years and years ago. And his thing was trying to help kids who grew up in the foster system, and then, just like Christy says, they're essentially, I don't want to say kicked out or thrown out, but they're thrown out into the real world, and they haven't learned what they need to learn to get into the real world, to be able to survive in the real world. And so there's there's been a lot of sort of growing up that they've missed because they've gone from, either institutions or foster families or whatever it is. I mean, it is incredibly sad. This is Troy in Nashville on WTN. Hey, Troy, go ahead.
Hey, I want to say something. Man, I had an incident where a lady, my cousin, had went and lost her kids, had 2 kids, and everybody can't wait for 6 weeks. And they had called her, and we found out those kids were there, and we went to get those kids.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, we can take those kids into our home. And DCS would not give us an opportunity to take those kids. And those kids stayed into the system until they went to that orphanage, and they stayed in the orphanage until they got too old to be there. And they failed those kids because both of them ended up in the system. And we could have helped those kids, but there are circumstances where if somebody loses their kids or they take those kids from the home, that a family member, if they ask for those kids, DCS will not give them those kids.
Well, Troy, Troy, you bring up a really compelling story. Why is it that they wouldn't give you those kids? Did they tell you why? What the reasoning was?
Well, they said this. We got to go through all these programs. But you got a person that's been arrested. Kids don't have anywhere to go. You want to take them downtown and put them in an office, and we find out and we say, hey, man, I'm a pastor. I've raised 2 kids. All my kids have went to college. We had a good income in the home. We showed that we were loving, and we said we can keep this child. Don't put them in this office. No, this is where we're going to be.
It sounds like DCS is a little too, and I wish I could come up with the right word, rigid with these classes. I mean, if you've raised a couple of kids already, I don't know. You're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't, because if they give kids to a family and they're flexible with the training, and then if something horrible happens, then DCS looks really bad. I mean, that's part of the problem. But Troy, you bring up a very compelling case as to maybe whether or not families have to go through the training. Maybe it's on a case-by-case basis. And Troy, I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Jimmy Wayne is the person that I interviewed who grew up in the country star, grew up in the system, and then was kind of thrown out at the age of 18. And I remember that interview, and it was a really good one. So people say Craig Morgan, another country music star, is also big on this topic, and a few others. So a lot of people talking about this, and maybe we'll revisit this here at another time. It is 6:56. I'm going to move on, so thank you for calling, you people on hold. I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to get to you. I do have an interview scheduled with EJ and Tony about Trumponomics, and that is coming up next on WTN. Joan's got the news at 7. Joan, what do you got?
Hey, a woman was hit by a train this week. We'll tell you why she is being charged in that incident. Coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A correctional officer with the Tennessee Department of Correction has been stabbed to death by an inmate. This happened at the Morgan County Correctional Complex Wednesday. 35-year-old Dustin Pedego had only been on the job for less than a year. The suspect is 34-year-old inmate Reginald Steed, who had been transferred out of that facility now. The Morgan County facility is under lockdown and visitation has been canceled for the weekend. A woman is facing charges after her car was hit by a train this week in Springfield.
We now know that car crossed the tracks while the train was coming towards them. The driver, Catherine Rawls, is currently in the hospital, but we don't know how she's doing this morning or exactly what charges she's facing. The crash killed her passenger, Jody Owens, who was a mother of two.
That's Channel 4's Marius Payton. The Tennessee House passed a measure yesterday requiring landlords to register their information or face a weekly fine. House Majority Leader William Lambert.
Our cities have no idea how to reach those folks. I mean, they're not in our community. They normally do not even live in the state. At the very least, you should have a point of contact where you can call someone or send them some mail at an address that is a valid address so that you can alert them to any kind of a law enforcement issue there, or for goodness sakes, if the house burned down. Some of these places we wouldn't even know who to contact.
Memphis, Murfreesboro, and Knoxville only use rental registries for short-term rentals. New jobs coming to Murray County. Here's Channel 4's Holly Thompson.
Governor Bill Lee announced Wednesday the first manufacturing facility for insulated wall panels here in the United States, and it's all coming to the Cherry Glen Industrial Park. That's out in Mount Pleasant.
Now the company is hiring 78 employees to run that operation. And new fallout from the Epstein files. Former Harvard president Larry Summers has resigned. He's been on leave for months after his relationship with Epstein came to light. Here's ABC's Peter Haralambous.
Within the actual Epstein files, there were multiple occasions in which they were basically bantering about women, where Epstein was basically playing
And we've got a problem in Whites Creek this morning. It's on 24 eastbound lanes before Old Hickory Boulevard North. That's a crash now on the shoulder. It's causing a lot of delay this morning. Clarksville, 24 west before ML King Parkway. That's another crash scene. Also in Capitol View on eastbound 40 at Church Street. And a crash there is blocking off the Gore. Jolton, Clarksville Pike east of Old Clarksville Pike South. That is an accident scene too. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:06 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This was President Trump in the State of the Union.
But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
Well, let's see. I guess the Democrats would obviously disagree, which is what they always do. But I want to bring in E.J. Antoni. Of course, he is a guy well-versed on all things your money and our economy. So, E.J., you've written, and I enjoyed this very much. It was a commentary. I don't know where it originated, but our friends at the Tennessee Star, the commentary, quote, "The economy is improving for Americans." And you wrote this along with Alan Mendenhall. So I want to just, have a plain discussion about the economy. Of course, Donald Trump is talking up the economy, which is what a president does. And so I want to talk about the first year of the Trump administration and what he has been able to do despite all of the issues with the Democrats and the Supreme Court standing in the way of tariffs. Let's just, for now, just kind of broad brush, talk about what the president has accomplished economically in the first year.
Pretty remarkable, Dan. On the one hand, you have to acknowledge the fact that a lot of Americans are still hurting, right? You have to acknowledge the fact that the economy is not yet working great for everybody. There's no doubt about that. We were basically, imagine you're driving in the car down the highway and you realize, I missed my exit and I'm heading in the wrong direction, right? Well, you're going down at the highway at highway speeds. You got to stop, find a place to do a U-turn and head the other way. But what I think is really remarkable is the fact that in such a short period of time, the president has managed to do that U-turn and is now very quickly heading us back in the right direction. However, we still have lost ground to make up, if that makes sense. And I can give you a couple of things that I think illustrate that. One is the fact that if you look at what the average American can actually buy with his or her paycheck, so not just the size of the paycheck, but what it can buy, it's up about 2% since Trump took office. Again, that's a reversal from Biden, where the size of your paycheck adjusted for inflation shrunk by about 4% over 4 years. So again, that tells you, number one, you've course corrected. You were heading in the wrong direction. Now you're heading in the right direction. But the second thing it tells you, which is also very important, is that you haven't yet made up all that lost ground from the Biden years.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, EJ. And by the way, I didn't introduce you correctly. EJ Antoni, of course, folks have seen you on Fox News, Heritage Foundation as well. I don't think people understand how much ground we lost during the Biden administration. And the other day, I think it was yesterday, I even spoke about how there's a lot of people that spent a lot of money utilizing credit cards to simply buy groceries or keep the heat on. So even if you just want to narrowcast it into a credit card debt that people are still in because they had to use those credit cards during the Biden administration, the consequences and ramifications of the 4 years of Joe Biden, I mean, people are still feeling that today, right?
Well, exactly, Dan. That's such a great point. If you rack up, as Americans did, over $1 trillion of credit card debt during the Biden years, that credit card debt doesn't magically go away just because Trump gets into office. And although we're not seeing the same worsening of credit card debt that we saw before, that also doesn't mean that the credit card debt magically goes away. No, it has to get paid down. And that's going to take time, and that's going to take rising incomes. And we're seeing that. But again, it's not going to happen overnight. I don't think that's a very realistic expectation. Biden wasn't able to create the mess overnight. It took him and the big spenders in Congress from both parties, by the way, Republican and Democrat, created this mess. It took them 4 years to create all of these problems. It's going to take us some time to claw our way out. But I'm happy to say, again, things are looking up. People's retirement accounts, the average 401k is up 15.8%, and that's after adjusting for inflation under this president. Things are looking up. Homes are becoming more affordable today, not less. Again, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but we are heading in the right direction. The monthly mortgage payment on a median price home is about 8% less now than it was a year ago. Again, I'm not saying we've made enough progress, but we are making progress.
See, it's funny because you're doing, EJ, what I do, which is we're not done yet. We know there's still things that need to happen. We're not out of the woods yet, but we can see the clearing, maybe 10, 15 yards in front of us. We do understand that there's still things that are too expensive. One thing that I think that people, I don't know if they don't understand it or maybe they're just, sort of hard-headed, but people will say, well, inflation is still too high. And I understand that. Explain the concept where inflation is getting better. It's not where we want it, but it is slowing down, and that's the important part. Talk about that.
Well, if I can go back to the driving down the road analogy, because I think it works very well for illustrating this point. Imagine you are driving down the highway, you're doing 60 miles an hour, and you see the mile markers on the side of the road. Well, that's 60 miles an hour. That's your speed. That's the rate at which you're going down the road, okay? Inflation is the rate of increase in prices. It's how fast prices are going up. That mile marker on the side of the road, that's the price level. That shows you where you are. Now, let's say traffic gets heavy. You slow down to 30 miles an hour. Well, your rate of increase goes down to 30, right? Your inflation rate just got cut in half. But guess what? The mile markers on the side of the road are still going to go up. But now, instead of seeing one every minute, you're going to see one every 2 minutes because, again, your speed of increase, your pace got cut in half. Imagine traffic is so bad you come to a complete standstill. Your speedometer falls to zero. That's like inflation falling to zero. The mile markers are not going up anymore. But guess what? The mile markers are not going down. To make that happen, you have to do what we said earlier. You have to make a U-turn and start heading in the other direction. That's what we call deflation. And fortunately, we actually have seen deflation in, for example, housing in certain markets like Dallas, like Tampa, like Miami, like Phoenix, like Austin. We've actually seen rents come down in those locations. There are certain consumer staples like gasoline, like eggs, where those prices are lower today than they were a year ago as well. So again, we're making progress, but it's going to take time to fix this.
By the way, Nashville was also on that list of cities where rent has been going down. Talk about, if we could, real wages, because I think that is also something that, number one, is really important. Number two, I bring this up all the time, but talk about real wages and how paychecks and how they relate to the inflation data.
Well, when we talk about the size of people's paychecks, everybody wants to get paid more, right? That's a good thing. The problem that we saw under the Biden years, though, was the fact that although paychecks were increasing, although you had wage growth, inflation was outpacing the wage growth. In other words, prices were rising faster than paychecks were growing. And so a 20% larger paycheck over 4 years, that may sound like great wage growth. I'd be thrilled if I got 20% raises over the course of 4 years, cumulative pay increases. But guess what? Even that couldn't keep up with the price increases that we saw. And we should also point out that these are just the official price increases, which during Biden really underestimated the actual amount of inflation we had. For example, the median price home that we talked about earlier, the monthly mortgage payment on that median price home over Biden's 4 years actually went up a little more than 100%. It was like 104%. It doubled. Think of that. The cost to own a home literally doubled in just 4 years. But according to our official inflation metrics that we use, their proxy for the cost of home ownership was only up about 20 or 25% during those 4 years. So a gross understatement of what really happened and how unaffordable life became. Now, again, fortunately, we are seeing in a lot of markets where rents and mortgage payments, monthly mortgage payments, have actually declined over the last year. So that's good progress. But we want to see even more progress. We want to go even further. We want to double down on the public policies that are making your paycheck go further because that's how we're going to reverse the damage that made your paycheck not go as far. We want to reverse the policies that turned higher wages into a lower standard of living. We want your higher wages to actually be a higher standard of living for you.
EJ Antoni is joining us on Super Talk 99.7. Okay, EJ, some very brief tariff talk coming up next. We got to check the roads here on WTN. Some rain today, throughout the day, high of 61, feeling like 58. And EJ, let's talk about tariffs. We know that Donald Trump, the Supreme Court ruled against him on the way that he was implementing tariffs. And so a lot of people say, and there's a lot of debate about this, that the tariffs are essentially a tax on the American people because the companies that are experiencing the tariffs will simply pass along those costs to the American people. There have been studies that have shown contradictory ideas. There's some studies that show that no, that is not the case. Other studies have shown, yes, it is the case. And so I guess my question to you is, what have we learned about how the president is going to respond to the Supreme Court telling him that the way that he was implementing tariffs was unconstitutional? What is next and the impact on people's wallets?
Well, he's going to do exactly what we've been saying he's going to do, which is he's going to use one of a half a dozen other tariff authorities that have been granted to him by the Congress in order to re-implement all or nearly all of the exact same tariffs. And this is what was outlined, I thought, very articulately in Justice Kavanaugh's dissent. And I don't say that even necessarily because I agree with the entirety of his dissent and the fact that he would have ruled in favor of the president. It's not that. It's that I think he correctly pointed out the fact that the president, if he just checks a few more procedural boxes, can do the exact same thing anyway. And this is something I think the whole Wall Street Journal crowd really missed because they're just so anti-tariff. I think they refuse to see past that ideology. And they drummed up this narrative of, if the court strikes down these tariffs, if they rule against the president, then tariffs are gone forever. No, tariffs are here to stay. And that's something I wish people could really wrap their heads around. Again, if the president just jumps through a few more legal hoops, which his team is now already doing, they can implement all or close to all of the same tariffs, just with slightly different mechanisms, with other laws that are between 50 and 100 years old, and most of them have already been used before and have been held up in court. So it's not like you're going to get those overturned. And then the one thing I'll say about the companies and this whole narrative that the consumer is paying the tax, if that's the case, if it really is true, and I think it's true in certain instances, but not in others, you got to look at these things on a case-by-case basis. But if it was really true what the Wall Street Journal crowd says about all of these tariffs just get passed on to the consumer and the consumer pays higher prices, then why is it all of these importers right now are trying to sue to get a refund? Mm-hmm. If they actually pass the cost on to the consumer, then they're not going to be able to demonstrate in court that they bore any of the cost. Because I'll tell you what happened in reality. A lot of these importers either ate the cost themselves or they told the exporter in China, you're going to sell this to me for less or I'm not buying it because you're going to eat the cost of the tariff. Or they passed it on to the wholesaler and the wholesaler ate it, or the wholesaler passed it on to the retailer and the retailer ate it. But when we look at the actual inflation data, when we look at the price data that we have, we are not seeing the full cost of these tariffs being passed on to the consumer. In certain instances, yes, I think there's evidence that there was a cost being passed on. But in most of them, I just don't find the evidence. It's not there.
You know, we haven't even talked about the lower gas prices or the lower taxes that people are experiencing because of the One Big Beautiful Bill. We've only got about 90 seconds left. And so talk about what you call in this article, this opinion piece in the Tennessee Star, the legislative cornerstone of this economic moment is the One Big Beautiful Bill. Talk about that and how it's helping folks.
Well, it's certainly helping a lot of blue-collar folks who rely on things like tipped income or overtime to make a lot of their income. You're going to have several. I think, several different classifications of workers whose families are now going to save literally thousands of dollars a year in taxes. In fact, at Trump's State of the Union speech, he highlighted one family where they have both parents working, trying to, make ends meet. Their federal tax liability just got cut in half because of the changes in this legislation. But on top of all those pro-work incentives that are in the bill, which are so important, it has pro-investment incentives. And that is we are literally already seeing the effects of that turbocharging investment, which is helping boost productivity. And that's so important because productivity is where you get the wage growth. It's where you get the rise in real incomes. It's where you get long-run economic growth. That's what's in this bill. It is already helping us turn around the economy and get us going in the right direction.
Okay. Give me your prediction. And I know that you people, you economists, hate this, but give me your prediction. So midterm elections, November 3rd is when the midterms happen of this year. So where do you think the economy is going to be in 60 seconds? Tell me where you think the economy is going to be come November 3rd.
I think we're going to be in a good place domestically. The big wild card right now, though, is overseas. Are we going to get dragged into another war in the Middle East? If that's the case, I'd say all bets are off, and not in a good way. I don't see any positives from economic growth, for example, if we get, again, dragged into a conflict with Iran. If we can stay out of that whole quagmire, that whole morass that is the Middle East, I think we're going to see the economy growing faster 6 months from now. I think people's paychecks will be buying more than they do right now, 6 months from now. And I think that's going to bode very well for the president.
All right, EJ, always great to have you on the program to shine some light on what is typically a very divisive and, but a very relevant subject to folks. How can people find you on X?
The handle there is @RealEJAntoni, and that's going to be the best place to find me, is on X.
All right, EJ, always great to have you on. It is 7:23 on Super Talk 99.7. Joan's got the news at 7:30. Joan.
Yeah, coming up, what we know about NES's plans for your electric bills. Also, 4 Americans gunned down by the Cuban Coast Guard. We've got the latest. Those stories and more at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, very good. Thank you, Joan. Window Nation, listen, is your heat running more than it should be? It's probably because your window insulation has failed. Maybe they're old windows. Maybe they were never good to begin with. But the pros at Window Nation, they can help you get new energy-efficient windows at a great price. Window Nation, it's their buy 4, get 4 windows free sale. It is going on right now. It is a great time to replace all the windows in your home. And besides the buy 4, get 4 windows free, you can also get them with 0 money down, 0 monthly payments, and no interest for 2 years. You act right now, you get an extra 10% off for the month of February. Now, this is a great company. I've got 4 Window Nation windows in my home, 96% customer satisfaction rating, and over 45,000 5-star reviews. Don't forget that great deal. Buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free. You can also get them with 0 money down, 0 monthly payments, and no interest for 2 years. And you take another 10% off for the month of February. Find them online. Check it out. Mention my name, Dan Mandis. WindowNation.com. That's WindowNation.com. Dan Mandis here, Mark Spain Real Estate. Sell your home with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate and choose when you want to move. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Now, with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the uncertainty of a traditional home sale and sell your home fast for all cash in as little as 21 days. Now, one of their clients, BR, had this to say. Mark Spain Real Estate sold my home, he says. Within 30 days, we received 4 offers in just 1 week. And he says, thanks to them, the process was by far the easiest and the quickest. He says, I would definitely recommend Mark Spain Real Estate to my friends and family. Now, I couldn't agree more. I'm always impressed with how easy Mark Spain Real Estate makes selling a home. For 30 years, Mark Spain Real Estate has been serving families just like yours, and they've helped over 72,000 satisfied clients. You can trust the most experienced real estate team in America to sell your home stress-free and for the most money. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out at 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. MarkSpain.com is where you go to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's MarkSpain.com and start packing. $729 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan.
Yes.
So I listened to Chris Hand yesterday, as I do every day, because he is an amazing. No.
Okay.
What is wrong with you? I love Chris.
Okay. No, I know you do.
He had, I think, probably one of the best segments I've actually heard him do on Abigail Spanberger.
Oh, yeah.
And being the most dangerous Democrat in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever get to, because I had to get out of the car, but Abigail Spanberger had these 3 questions that she was talking about, asking the nation about whether or not we were doing, I think it was better economically, whatever. But did he get around to answering those, like talking about that?
Huh.
I think one of the things that she said was, Are you safer? I think that's one of the things that that she asked. And I'm listening to that whole thing, and I'm screaming, yeah, I'm a heck of a lot safer now under, the Republicans. And I'm wondering if Chris, went through with all of his coverage. I'm wondering if he went through that, because I was yelling at the radio, talking about how this woman is clearly a moron. And so I may, in the 8 o'clock hour, just give my own spin. I don't know how I could possibly top what Chris did yesterday, but I may go ahead and give a shot at answering the questions of Abigail Spanberger in her response to the State of the Union, because they are so easily refuted that I want to give it a shot. So, but coming up next, I'm going to talk about with one of the lead reporters from News Nation about the latest on the war with the cartels. That is coming up next on WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. NES customers still have no idea whether their electric bills will rise to pay for the winter storm recovery. Here's NES CEO Teresa Broyles-Applin.
We are taking action to mitigate having to increase rates as a result of the storm. FEMA's first line on storm recovery, storm cost recovery, that takes time, however.
Yeah, Channel 4's Danielle Ledbetter on the changes NES says it's making to respond to potential severe weather damage this spring.
They're changing the way they trim trees, increasing the clearance area from 10 feet to 15 feet for all main lines. They will now trim from the ground all the way up past power poles. Also, an outside contractor has been hired to fly planes and special sensors over all 4,800 miles of lines to look for any problems.
Of course, all of that costs millions of dollars on top of the nearly $140 million NES already spent on storm recovery. 4 people, all of them U.S. residents, killed aboard a speedboat after a shootout with the Cuban Coast Guard yesterday. The Cuban government claims those 10 people on that boat were Cuban residents of the U.S. who were armed for a, quote, infiltration for terrorist purposes. ABC News contributor Steve Ganyard says this may have actually been more of a smuggling operation.
It appears that the boat is registered in Florida, but we do know that there's been decades-long fast boat trade where people have paid a lot of money to have these fast boats, these cigarette boats and high-speed boats, go down to Cuba and pull their loved ones offshore.
Yeah, whether that boat was inside Cuban territorial waters or not will likely determine if the U.S. takes action. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. There's still a crash on 24 eastbound that's causing delays this morning in Whites Creek. It's before Old Hickory Boulevard North. The crash is on the shoulder in Clarksville, 24 west before ML King Parkway. That crash is still there. Brentwood on 65 south at Old Hickory Boulevard South. You've got an accident and the right shoulder is blocked off by it. 24 east in Joelton, past New Hope Road. There's a scene of an accident. I-840 westbound in Fairview at Pinewood Road. That is an accident scene as well. Very slow on 24 heading in this morning, jammed up around the Laverne area in very heavy volume. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.737 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends and welcome on in to your Thursday, February 26th of 2026. Want to welcome on into the program. This is Allie Bradley, Senior Immigration and Border Correspondent for News Nation. Allie, thank you very much for joining us. This headline was alarming, and I'm going to tell you why, because I am from Southern California. This is the headline. What is next in the fight against fentanyl? Fears grow that cartel violence could spread to Southern California. So let's talk about this. Allie Bradley, again, thank you for joining us. So Southern California, you're talking about San Diego. We're talking about perhaps Los Angeles. So tell me what your fears are.
Yeah, so obviously when it comes to Southern California, you have the southern border right there, right across the way as Tijuana. So you obviously have the concerns that that could be a spillover flashpoint for the cartels. We've seen them battling each other very close to our southern border. We've seen all the firefighting happening, the blockades, all of the kind of chaos that they're orchestrating down there. And so there is that concern that it could spill over. But I don't want to fearmonger either, and we need to be realist on this as well, because despite all the chaos that we're seeing down there, there's no confirmed cartel violence actually crossing into the United States as of right now. We know, I can't dismiss this though, we know the cartel is present in all 50 states, but those aren't the ones having all-out battles right now. That's happening south of our border. And instability in Mexico can obviously impact the border communities, travel, security. We know all of those things were impacted. We had airports shut down, things like that, so people were stuck over in Mexico. Right now, yesterday we saw in the Tijuana area, they were burning some vehicles, things like that were happening. So we did see that violence get dangerously close to our southern border. But authorities do say that that spillover cartel violence is pretty rare. We don't see that very often. And the Mexican embassy is saying security has stabilized in the country following those operations to take out El Mencho in Jalisco. So we're seeing those things kind of stabilize again. We know that the Puerto Vallarta International Airport is reopened. So things like that are kind of stabilized. But the reality is the cartel is not stabilized. So when you cut off the head of the snake, when you take out El Mencho, who was the most wanted cartel leader, he had a $15 million bounty on his head from the United States. When you take him out, the snake grows back, several more heads. So when it comes to the flow of fentanyl, especially San Diego is one of those kind of thoroughfares where they've regularly moved fentanyl into the United States. San Diego sector rivals the Tucson sector. Nogales, namely in Arizona, is the other area where we see fentanyl flow. So San Diego is an area they're keeping an eye on as well, because fentanyl is going to continue to flow, according to experts, because the pipeline of drugs is not connected to just one singular figure. It's connected to the entire pipeline, right? So when it comes to that, you might take out the leader, but other commanders are likely going to step in to keep the distribution going, because those pipelines weren't dismantled. Those road networks, how they're getting the drugs in, all of those things are still open and going to continue. So we're going to likely continue to see fentanyl come in. But the reality is, we talked with a DEA administrator, a former DEA administrator, who says, that the drugs likely already are here because a lot of the chemicals likely came in when the border was open for 4 years. And now we have people with pill presses. As I mentioned, the cartel's present in all 50 states. You have people with pill presses that are able to crank out thousands of fentanyl pills in the interior of the United States. So you no longer have to get it across the border. So that's something that we're seeing as well. So we're definitely keeping a close eye on fentanyl seizures. They have dropped dramatically under the Trump administration. But again, that doesn't mean that it's not in the country because people don't die off interdicted drugs. And we're still seeing people die from fentanyl.
Allie Bradley, senior immigration and border correspondent for News Nation. So there's a bunch of these ingredients already here, and they came in under the Biden administration. Is it a silly question to ask, okay, so how much is here and how long till this supply runs out and what can we do?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about how much could be here. Obviously, we knew for years that the precursor chemicals were coming in from China and then they were smuggling it across the border, right? Well, now we know that that's in the interior of the country. The DEA administrator was talking about one single case where one guy had pressed 100,000 pills in an hour. And he was not a cartel member. He was just a regular guy who was pressing pills and distributing fentanyl. And the Postal Service was involved in that case as well. And so we do know that it's in the interior. 100,000 pills in an hour, that's substantial. And so when you're looking at one single individual being able to pull that off, you can imagine that he's not the only one, and that could be a real case scenario across the board if people have their hands on those chemicals.
Is there still these chemicals coming across the border? I know that you said that a lot of it is here already and it came through during Biden, but Trump has effectively shut down the border from illegal immigration as far as people goes. Mm-hmm. Do we know how much of these drugs are still able to get through?
They are still seizing fentanyl, meth, and cocaine. And that's another thing is they've kind of pivoted a lot to methamphetamine because it's easier to get liquid across the border than it is to get something in a pill form. So they've pivoted a lot to methamphetamine. When it comes to smuggling, they've also pivoted to cocaine and are lacing the cocaine with fentanyl in order to get fentanyl into the U.S. So anything can be laced with fentanyl at this point. But when it comes to how much they're seizing, they're still getting loads of fentanyl pills in gas tanks, in indiscriminate locations where they're trying to conceal it throughout panels of vehicles. And again, mostly of that we're seeing is in the Nogales area, the Tucson sector of the Border Patrol. So that's what we see is still happening, that they're still seizing thousands of pills at the ports of entry. So they're definitely, having those issues still come across the border, but they're catching it when they do see it. They have enhanced screening capabilities at these ports of entry, but lawmakers are pushing for even more. They're also pushing for higher penalties when it comes to drug traffickers. So we're seeing a couple of different things at play here that should, cut down on the movement of the drug to the southern border. But again, if it's already here, being able to identify that and go after that is not really the priority, right? We're not really going around sniffing out pill presses. We're looking at the southern border for fentanyl being smuggled. So they might need to kind of pivot a little bit on how they're going after this drug being in the country already.
745 Super Talk 99.7. More with Allie Bradley with News Nation. Got to check the roads. 15 seconds here on Super Talk 99.7. All right, 746 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, Allie Bradley left.
What?
I had a great question all queued up, and I guess she thought that we were done.
Oh, no.
That's okay. Do we have the phone number? Can we call her back? Because I did. I had a great question all queued up and ready to go.
That's a shame.
That's why I said 15 seconds is all I needed to check traffic. We got to stop doing the traffic at the quarters. But then people are stuck in traffic. So we have to continue to do traffic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw beep, beep, beep. I'm going to throw Sam right under the bus. Hey, Sam, when we do interviews, tell them we got to take a quick 15-second look at traffic, and then we'll go back to them, because that is essentially what happens. But that's okay. You know what I'm going to ask her?
What are you going to ask her?
I'm going to ask her, let's talk about the impact of President Trump designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. All right. Allie, thank you very much for coming back with us. You apparently you thought that we were done, and you're like, good, I don't want to talk to him anymore. But I...
No, I would love to stay and chat all morning. That's just usually my cue to cut.
No, it's all good. We got to do a little traffic report there. Real quickly, President Trump designating these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, how much has that helped in the battle against fentanyl and the drug cartels?
So when it comes to the terrorist organization designations, that means that they have sanctions on them where they can go after their financial pipelines, go after their assets and things like that. Now, obviously, those things all contribute to the flow of fentanyl and the drug pipeline, because if they're not making money, they don't have money to then shell out to, create the drug, make the drug, and move the drug, because all of that takes time, effort, and money. But they don't operate like we do in the States. They have all the time, effort, and money under the sun right now. So when it comes to sanctioning them, I don't think that it's doing much to cut down on the drug flow, but I think that it is doing something to the cartels for them being operational, if that makes sense. Because when it comes to the drugs, they have so many people that are moving that drug. Like I said, you cut off the head of the snake, you kill El Mencho. That does not mean that the drug is going to stop moving. And that's their MO, is to make money. Right now, the border is essentially secure, so they're not moving people across the border nearly as much. We are still seeing a little bit of that, but we are not seeing it to the levels that they were. They were making $13 billion a year just moving humans into the United States. And now they're just focused on drugs once again, which was their original kind of MO. And so when it comes to making money, they're going to do everything that they can to move drugs into the United States. So they're still operating, they're still doing that. The Trump administration, though, does say that the secure border is why we're seeing fewer seizures. Again, they have experts that say, well, we also have the drug in the interior. So I don't think that the terrorist designation is as heavy as a lift or a weight on them as I think the American people think it is. We also aren't really seeing when they arrest a TDA member, Tren de Aragua, or when they arrest a CJNG member, we're not seeing like terrorism charges with that. We're just seeing them deported, right, or removed from the country. So you don't have that additional layer of enforcement either. And I'm not really sure why. I think that the terrorist designation is more so that it opens the door so that they can go in and kind of go after them when the time is right, like El Mencho, when they were able to kind of provide Mexico intel and share information and go in and kind of assist with their takedown of that cartel boss. So I think that the sanctions are more so just to open the door for the U.S. if and when the time is right to go after some of these leaders.
Ali, I got to ask. So there have been some people within Mexico, within Mexico's government, a senator, if I'm not mistaken, accusing the president of Mexico, Sheinbaum, of really cooperating, acquiescing to the cartels. It's a pretty serious accusation. In your reporting, have you noticed, do you have an opinion on whether or not she is anti-cartel, working with the cartels, or essentially just trying to stay alive?
I think that there's always a level of kind of a state-sponsored cartel, if you will. There's always a cartel that kind of has favor from the administration. AMLO had, some kind of favoritism with cartels as well. I think that there's a combination of having kind of working with the cartels so that they don't kill you or so that they don't make things worse. I think there's a level of that, but I also think that there's a level that she knows exactly what's going on and how these cartels operate, and she could do more to prevent them from moving drugs and people into the country. She could do more to prevent them from all-out attacks on each other and its people. But I don't think that she is, and so that begs the question as to why, right? And so I don't want to take off my journalism hat and say I believe that she's working with the cartels, because that's not the case. But I do believe she knows how to stop them, and she's not.
Very good. Ali, I really appreciate your analysis on this and your reporting on this, and you have a great week.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
God bless you. That's a first
First blessing you've had all day?
You know what's so interesting? That's the first time a reporter has actually said "God bless you" to me, and I didn't even sneeze.
And you didn't sneeze.
No.
Yeah.
Why am I was taken aback by that. I love that she said, "God bless you guys out there." That was pretty cool, actually. Allie Bradley.
Well, she knows we work with crappy phone equipment.
Is that what it is?
We need all the blessings we can get.
We do. Well, it's not just the phone equipment; it's the computer equipment. It's all kinds of equipment.
Occasionally, the host brain.
Man, why are you hating? I've had a good show today.
Yeah. Sam.
Touch my knobs.
Excuse me?
Moving right along. It is 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so 1860 says this, Joan.
Yeah.
He or she, I don't know who it is, but I answered the 3 questions. The Democratic response to Abigail Spanberger and what she asked during her State of the Union response, and she was wondering what my response to those 3 questions would be. These are so easy. Like, I don't even know how Abigail Spanberger and the Democrat Party can look at themselves in the mirror. But these are the 3 questions, right? Is the president working to make life more affordable for you? Is the president working to keep Americans safe, both home and abroad? And again, is the president working for you? So I guess those were the 3 questions. And are they trying to be easily refuted? Because this is not hard at all. This is not difficult. We're going to talk about this and a whole lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7. 6437 says, your knobs are tripping, bro.
Okay.
Is what 6437 says. So just so we're clear, that was Sam's idea of being funny, dropping in an out-of-context soundbite onto the audience in the middle of a conversation between me and Joan. Every Peanuts book known to man. I'm never going to live that one down, Joan. Never, ever going to live that one down. Anyway, going to talk about those 3 questions and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, what is coming up in the news at 8?
Well, Kumar Abrego Garcia is coming back to Nashville today. We'll tell you what's happening. Those stories and more coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 754, the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Dan Mandis here, and they've got a great deal going on for you right now. Now, listen, if you've got back or neck pain, sciatica, slipped or bulging spinal discs, herniated discs, spinal stenosis, numbness or weakness in the arms and legs, fingers or toes, they can help you like they helped me many years ago. Now, they're offering you 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. They can help you, and for cheaper. Again, 47% off. Call this phone number today, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, and get that 47% off. They can help you courtesy of the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Painisbad.com, by the way, is the website as well. Now, spinal decompression will get you the best you that you will ever find. And again, 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression when you mention my name and Super Talk 99.7 WTN 615-246-5009. There's all kinds of ways in which they can help you. Listen to this. They've got the robotic lasers, the anti-gravity machines, the hydro wave, the cryo machines, stem cell stimulation machines, all right there at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Help is just a phone call away. 615-246-5009. Painisbad.com. Painisbad.com. 7:59, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, the super texters are chiming in.
Mm-hmm.
0026 says, Sam is the best. Keep it up. She's got those 2 holes I'm going to have to fill now. Yeah. Sam's the best, isn't he, Joan?
He really is.
Sure is.
You sound so white.
We got to take that thing away from him,
yeah,
man.
I think so.
We
I think
do.
the sooner the better. I've never been in an accident while farting.
All right, we got to go. 8 o'clock. By the way, coming up, I think at 8:35, Sam, instead of playing with your knobs, maybe you can find out some information on this. Movie memorabilia is going up for auction next month. I would like to know what is going up for auction. Because I had a picture of C3PO in the story on CNN.
Oh my!
So can I actually like bid on C3PO?
Oh,
Joan, how much would you spend to get C3PO?
about $1.350.
$1.350? I thought it was $350.
I don't even know what any of that.
You don't come from Jersey, buddy. $1.350.
$1.350.
That's
so
it.
Is that like $1.50?
Yeah.
That's all you would spend on C3? What is wrong? You're such a girl. Anyway, it's 8 o'clock on, just kidding, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories behind closed doors. Hillary Clinton is appearing before U.S. House lawmakers today. For her deposition, though, lawmakers, they're not even making her travel to D.C. They are assembling in her current hometown of Chappaqua, New York, part of a congressional investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, starting off 2 days of depositions that'll also include her hubby, the former president, Bill Clinton.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle had threatened to hold the former first couple in criminal contempt of Congress after they initially refused to testify in person. But in the end, they agreed. The Clintons have long denied they knew of any criminal conduct by Epstein or his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. They say they cut ties with Epstein before his crimes came to light and have not been accused of any wrongdoing.
That's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. The Music City Loop got its final lease and permit approvals from Governor Bill Lee yesterday. Now construction gets underway in earnest, according to Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. He was on the Matt Murphy show.
Very excited that's underway, and coincidentally, is well timed. Yesterday in our Senate Commerce Committee, I advanced some legislation to create the authority that will govern not just the Boring Company, but any other company that would like to possibly explore the idea of a subterranean type of transportation system. Right now, I think the Boring Company is the only viable one that is there, but at some future date, there could be others.
Yeah, the Boring Company project is fully funded by Elon Musk Company, so it's not costing taxpayers. That company, by the way, is holding a hiring event tomorrow, 11 to 3. They're looking for engineers, electricians, welders, mechanics, all of them in Nashville. You can check it out on the Boring Company website. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is facing a federal judge in Nashville today. Now, this is a hearing over whether the government's case against him for human smuggling is legitimate. His lawyers claim it's vindictive, and they've already been shown favor by the Obama-appointed judge, Waverly Crenshaw. That judge canceled the trial in December, saying there was enough evidence to hold a hearing on the question of vindictive prosecution. A 9-week-old puppy is recovering after being rescued by police yesterday. This was a tiny, small breed dog.
This happened in Laverne yesterday when a family called police after their puppy had fallen into the drain outside of their home. Officers say they used the pieces of a vehicle lockout kit to hook onto the puppy's collar and safely lift it out of the drain.
That's Channel 4's Marius Payton there. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We've got all the futures pointing up now with the Dow futures up 97. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, in Lebanon, you've got a crash on Highway 109 southbound. It's near Leeville Pike, and 2 lanes are blocked off there. Watch it. Clarksville, 24 west before ML King Parkway. They're still working on a crash in that area as well. 40 eastbound in Hermitage, you've got a crash on the off-ramp, the 40 eastbound off-ramp to Central Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.807 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan?
Yes.
Why am I looking up at CNN this morning and they are hyperventilating over Epstein stuff? Like, I understand, for the love of God, I know that it's an important story. But, I mean, CNN is like all over this.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're trying to distract from Donald Trump's really good speech that he gave and the very poor response by the Democrats. So it's almost like, hey, let's glom on to Epstein. And because I have not seen them say really much of anything about Trump's State of the Union speech earlier this week. And certainly not talking about Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. So I don't know.
And by the way, there's another Ilhan Omar story that we haven't discussed yet. But let me tell you what's happening with this Epstein case.
Okay. So
the media outlets are crying because they say some documents were left out. And, you know, the DOJ, you know, damned if they do, damned if they don't, because they published the documents and everybody said, oh, you didn't redact. And then they take out some documents that shouldn't be seen and they're saying, oh, you left documents out.
Yes.
They can't do anything right. So what they're salivating about at this point is that there were notes about a report that was filed by the FBI because a woman claimed that when she was 13, President Trump sexually assaulted her. And the FBI looked into it, found it not credible, and shelved it. So, you know, the left gets to say, yes, there's a report in there about Trump sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl. But what they're not telling you is that the FBI already examined this and decided that it was not credible.
Exactly.
Well, and to give information to that, she claimed that it was in relationship with Epstein that this whole thing went down in some capacity.
Yes.
Trump and Epstein didn't know each other when she said this happened. She said this happened in the 80s.
Wow.
In between 83 and 85. And Trump and Epstein weren't affiliated in any capacity publicly or whatsoever till like at least 87, 88 at the earliest, I would imagine.
So there you go.
And by the way, people like Donald Trump, they get accused of stuff all the time. It's called extortion.
Yes. And a lot of times it's easier just to pay people off to shut them up. You know, Stormy Daniels.
Joan, you're absolutely right. Stormy Daniels is a great example.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, is that it? Are we done?
Yeah. So the Ilhan Omar thing, I can never say her name. Ilhan Omar.
It's okay. She struggles with English herself.
Yeah. She brought somebody with her.
Yes.
Do you know the story?
No, I'm laughing at Sam's. She struggles with English herself. She's got, can I just say, and I will get to the 3 questions, but I don't know if all Somalians speak like her, but it's just ugly. Everything about Ilhan Omar is just ugly. From her English phrasing to her attitude to
married her brother,
which, by the way, that turns out that was true.
Yeah.
Just all the stuff, all the things, as Chris Hand would say. Anyway, go ahead with the, yes, I know the story, Joan, the guest that she brought, but go ahead and tell the story.
Yeah, so this woman is a software engineer. Her name is Aliyah Rahman. But of course, CNN is Aliyah Rahman.
Of course, yes.
So she claims that she was aggressively handled because she went through when ICE was doing operations in Minneapolis, she decided she was going to go inch by inch through the ICE line when they were telling her, get out of here, move on, get out of here. She wouldn't do it. So they broke her window, dragged her out of the car, and she's saying, but I'm just going to my doctor's appointment. I'm disabled.
Yeah. We actually played the audio,
did.
and of course we could play video at the time. But
so that's who Ilhan Omar brought with her to the State of the Union address. Now this woman decides she's going to stand up in the middle of the State of the Union.
Yep.
And she was told to sit down, and she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. So they hauled her out. And again, she claimed, I was mishandled. I have to go to the hospital now. I'm so...
Well, then go to the hospital, and lady, don't do anything else stupid.
Yeah.
That would be my... people do dumb stuff all the time. And then they wonder why bad things happen to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I've worked with people who would do dumb stuff all the time. And then they wonder why they get fired.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And... Ilhan Omar knew exactly what she was doing, and this woman knew exactly what she was doing. And I don't have the story in front of me, but basically they asked her, why did you stand up? And basically her answer was because she wanted to be seen, right? She wanted to be, well, they saw you all right.
Yeah.
And they forced you out of the chamber.
She knew what she was doing.
Oh, of course she did.
What repugnant behavior.
Thank you. Repugnant is my word of the day.
Yeah, and I just brought it back for you.
Repulsive and repugnant. That's what I feel about the Democrats today. So, what is that? Sam, is that you, Sam?
Are you snoring? Because you're...
What's going? I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the sound we heard for 4 years when Joe Biden was in office.
Oh,
That's what we heard. For 4 years, that is what we heard when Joe Biden was in office. Yet Abigail Spanberger has the audacity, has the nerve to ask 3 questions regarding Donald Trump. Is the president working to make life more affordable for you? Abigail, now realize she was the Democrat response to Donald Trump's State of the Union. Of course, Donald Trump is working to make life more affordable. As a matter of fact, he's really staked part of his legacy on it with the whole tariff discussion. But rents are lower. You know what? Go listen to the interview that I did with E.J. Antoni. Yes, Donald Trump is working to make life affordable for the American people. I mean, it's something that he talks about literally every day. And yes, with the tariffs, he has staked his presidential legacy on the tariffs and hoping that it will make life more affordable for the American people. If you want to talk about the lower tax brackets, we can talk about that. If you want to talk about the lower gas prices, we can talk about that. We can talk about multiple things that Donald Trump has done to make life more affordable. 401ks are up, of course. Everyone knows that. That's been a big talking point. And before you say, oh, well, 401ks are only for the rich people. Okay, my daughter has a 401k. Trust me, friends, my daughter is not rich. Joan, she called me the other day. You know what she said?
What's that?
Holy cow, my 401k.
Yeah.
She said, what is going on? And I explained the whole thing to her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, 401ks are not just for rich people. What is it? What is the stat I saw? Is it 61? Sam, Google for me, would you? How many people in America have 401ks? It's not just the 1% people. It's not. So, yeah, the president is working to make life more affordable.
Approximately 70 million Americans, 43% of the working population.
All right, very good. And there's a lot of other people who are not working, who have retired, that also, I guess, probably still have their 401ks. So while, Joe Biden continued to, sleep his way through his presidency, what are we seeing Donald Trump do? I mean, this is a man who spent, an hour and 41 minutes talking about what he was doing for the American people. So that's number one. Number two, what was the other question that she asked? Is the president working to keep Americans safe, both home and abroad? Yeah, I believe that the president is, because guess what? Your president opened the damn border, Abigail Spanberger, and your party stood beside President Joe Biden, then President Joe Biden, while he let in all of these criminals. That is what Joe Biden did. All of these criminals. I just had that interview with Ali Bradley, the News Nation senior immigration border correspondent, and she said that over the 4 years that Joe Biden was in office with that open border, we had all of that fentanyl and all of those fentanyl ingredients come into our country. And so they're still working off the ingredients that came in during Joe Biden's administration here in America. So yes, obviously, Donald Trump is doing everything that he possibly can to keep Americans safe, most certainly at home. I mean, he sent in the National Guard to Washington, D.C., and Memphis and other places, so that depending on whether we're talking about ICE, the National Guard, but yeah, obviously, and your party, Abigail Spanberger, you're the ones that are trying to get in his way with all of your lawyers and all of your judges. So how dare you come out and say, is President Trump working to keep Americans safe, both home and abroad? Yeah, and he's working harder because your sorry arses are trying to get in his way. Last one. Is the president working for you? Obviously he is. He's doing the best that he can, despite the fact that you people are part of a resistance that he is trying to overcome. Because day after day after day after day, he is dealing with, things like assassination attempts, things like your side of the aisle doing everything that they can to try to usurp his power and his decisions. So, yeah, I thought that the three questions that Abigail Spanberger even asked were appalling and insulting, considering what we went through the last 4 years under Joe Biden, who snored his way and lied his way through his administration. Oh, Lord, she pissed me off. And I agree with Chris, by the way, where he said yesterday that Abigail Spanberger is the most dangerous Democrat in the nation because she lies really well. She plays the part really well. She convinced the people of Virginia that she was a moderate, and then she goes in there and look at all the things that she's trying to do.
Bingo.
So, yes, outstanding segment by Chris Hand yesterday, and I listened with rapt attention, Joan, all the way home. I even skipped my commie coffee so that I could listen to Chris Hand's first hour.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Saved me $9, as a matter of fact. All right, it is 8. Did we do traffic?
No.
All right, let's do traffic on WTN. All right, it's 8:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What do you want to do here? You want to go ahead and find out what is going on with Joan in the news at 8:30?
Sure, let's do that.
All right, go ahead, Joan, because I got something I want to do before the crisscross handoff. So, Joan, what do you got coming up?
Well, there was a woman hit by a train in Springfield this week. We'll tell you why she's being charged in that incident. It's coming up at 8:30 here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Joan. It is 8:20 on Super Talk 99.7. I want to tell you about my friends at DT McCall's, a great Tennessee company. They've been not only here for their fellow Tennesseans with great prices, selection, and value, but they have also been here for yours truly, that's me, for a long time as well. Now, DT McCall's, I bought a washer and a dryer set. I bought a couch. I've bought a refrigerator as well from DT McCall's. This is a great company. I've been telling you for years about these folks. I was a customer before I was an endorser. So the bottom line, friends, if you've got a room to fill, go to DT McCall's. They've got, again, appliances, furniture, and a whole lot more. Whenever I need something, I go to their website, dtmccalls.com. They've always got specials and great prices on all the best brands of appliances like washer and dryer sets, dishwashers, and a whole lot more. DT McCall's, they've been at it for over 100 years with a focus on customer service. And if you buy it, they're going to deliver it for free and haul away the old stuff as well. You got 5 locations across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, and always find them online, dtmccalls.com. 826, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. All right, so Joan.
Yes.
Sam wants you and I to play Fun with Audio with GOP State Representative Walter Hudson.
Okay.
All right, so Sam set this up.
Yeah, so he just gets out on the state floor and eviscerates the state Democrat rhetoric, kind of comes after Tim Walz and Mayor Fry over how ICE, came in, how things were handled, and just completely obliterates their logic.
All right, let's listen.
You got to watch this.
If they come to our state, it's an invasion, it's an occupation. People are being kidnapped, not detained, not arrested, kidnapped. Rhetoric like that, and the stance that your party has taken from top to bottom, from Governor Walz all the way down, that there is no legitimacy to federal authority is nothing less than insurrectionist rhetoric. And that is why, take your moment.
I love that. I love how everybody, oh my God, he used the I word.
Oh, and then they say it. They say the thing.
I got mine. Take your moment to digest that. Look it up. The number of lawyers that are laughing at me right now. Do you understand how the Supremacy Clause works? Do you understand what insurrection is? It's the undermining of federal authority.
Why are they freaking out over him using the I word?
Oh, just wait. You heard that representative say it.
January 6th, thank you so much for bringing that up. You guys went on and on and on about that for what, 4 years? Yeah, it's still celebrated as a holiday on your side of the aisle. One riot on one day. It's an attack on democracy. You ran an entire election on it. For months and weeks on end, we have had the top law enforcement officer in this state, the governor in this state, the mayor of Minneapolis, and many of you actively undermine federal authority when it comes to immigration law. And acting upon that rhetoric, people like Renee Good and people like Alex Preddy put themselves in harm's way. They did what you
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Point of order. Personality is not allowed in debate. We are not going to allow you. We are not going to allow you to impugn community members who have been murdered by the federal government. How dare you? That is shameful.
Walter Hudson for president.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
He needs to run for governor of the state.
Oh, and you know what? I bet you, well, I don't know if he'd win. You can't win Minneapolis
now
or Minnesota without Minneapolis.
Well, but now there's a microscope on the area. There won't be so many potential fraudulent votes.
You know what? Well, I would love if a guy like Walter Hudson, you know who's running for, what is her name? A Republican. She lives here in Tennessee. She used to live, whatever. I thought she lived in Tennessee, but what is her name? Joan, you'll know this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Monday Night Football. Sideline reporter. What is her name?
Sage. Right?
No, not Sage.
Oh,
not Sage
I know.
Steele.
She's on the Greg Gutfeld show all the time.
Yeah, well, what is her name? I've liked her for years. I don't even know.
Michelle Tafoya.
Michelle Tafoya. Thank you.
Oof, that hurt.
Was that Chris Hand yelling? The young guy? It's
No.
Michelle Tafoya, you old fogey.
he didn't. He didn't.
Okay. So you remembered that all by yourself?
Yeah, that's why it hurt. Gosh.
Joan and I wiping the cobwebs of our minds,
Speaking of governors, we have a second if you want to listen to Mikey Sherrill get booed.
Okay, in
New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
At the Devils game, welcoming back gold medal winning hero Jack Hughes. And this is how it went for her.
Partner David and Allison Blitzer, and New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill, and First Gentleman Jason Haber.
Oh, that is painful.
That's 20,000 people that aren't happy with their leader.
That's New Jersey. So New Jersey, that's your state, Joan. So they're not happy with Mike Sherrill.
Then why didn't they vote her? Not vote her into office? Honestly, people.
How long was that? How long ago was that? What, a year?
It was in November. She was just elected.
Well, then why in the world did they boo them? Like, in other words, I'm saying they. Is hockey known as like
It's conservative.
Is it a conservative
Yeah.
sport?
In America, it is. Across the border, there are a bunch of limp simps up there.
So I didn't know that hockey was a conservative sport. I had no idea.
It's about hard work and, being able to be part of a team despite your differences, and that's something clearly the left can't do.
Okay, very good. 8:31 WTN.
Good morning. It is now 8:31. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A Putnam County couple arrested yesterday after first parking in a spot reserved for a sheriff's officer outside of the courthouse. Officers nearby smelled marijuana, so they arrested the driver, 28-year-old Joa Dashnow, for possession. And then they realized there's a baby in the car. News 2's Andy Corden picks it up from there when officers grabbed the mom, Miranda Jobs. She was inside the courthouse.
You know what else is a big problem?
Yeah.
The dope.
The what?
The dope.
I didn't even know he had
And then
that
you know what
on.
else is the bigger problem? There's
My
a kid in
daughter's
that car. Yep.
Yeah.
A search of the vehicle turns up drugs and a grinder that are in the baby's diaper bag.
No, I swear to God, I did not know he had it.
And then that part smells like marijuana. How old is that baby?
It's almost a year.
Almost a
old.
year.
Can I? It's probably my cigarette pack that smells like it.
It's freaking right there. That's your cigarette pack.
Yeah, that's probably why it smells like it.
Ultimately, both suspects are charged with child abuse and drug offenses.
And DCS took custody of that baby. A woman is facing charges after her car was hit by a train this week in Springfield.
We now know that car crossed the tracks while the train was coming towards them. The driver, Catherine Rawls, is currently in the hospital, but we don't know how she's doing this morning or exactly what charges she's facing. The crash killed her passenger, Jody Owens, who was a mother of two.
That's Channel 4's Marius Payton there. Jody Owens, 25 years old. Services for her are scheduled for tomorrow. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Starting off on the positive side for the Dow Jones Industrials, at least, up 274 right now. But the NASDAQ is minus 87, S&P 500 index minus 5. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:33, Nashville's Morning News, Generator Super Center. Listen, if there's one thing that we've learned over the last couple of months is that we simply cannot count on NES or the government for anything except raising our taxes or collecting our taxes, which is why I am reaching out to my friends at the Generator Super Center to start figuring out my needs. What about you? Now, I learned how important generators were during power outages during my time in Indiana, and of course, last month as well. It's a not so subtle reminder as to the power of Mother Nature. So if you've been talking about a backup home standby generator with your family, you've got to check out my friends at the Generator Super Center. Basically, how it works is the power goes out in your neighborhood and your backup home standby generator is going to click your power right back on. They are the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, the Generator Super Center. Now, this is not only a huge investment in your home, but also in your family's safety. Now, they do feature expert installation. They do feature 24-hour monitoring as well. They're not going to leave you in the dark, and financing is available. So tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out at 615-879-1952, 615-879-1952. Online anytime, GeneratorSuperCenterofNashville.com, GeneratorSuperCenterofNashville.com.
So in Clarksville, they're still working the accident scene on 24 westbound side before ML King Parkway. That is a crash just past the Sango Road overpass, and it may be in the median there. Watch it. Got a crash in Franklin Pike in Oak Hill. It's right at Caldwell Lane. Another at Stewart's Ferry Pike at I-40. The crash there, and Donaldson is blocking off the left lane. White House, 65 north before Bethel Road. It's a rolling roadblock there, and the right lane is blocked off by it. They're doing pothole patching there. And in Portland on 65 South at Orlinda, Portland, you've got an accident there as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The eye roll from Dan.
Yeah. Hey, Joan, let me hear you go, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nailed it. Little Mac Miller.
Is that what this is, Mac Miller?
Yep.
All right.
Part of the 27 Club.
What does that mean?
Died at 27.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not disparaging.
Along with Kurt Cobain and Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, my God. Did I tell you what happened?
No.
So just real quick. Please turn that off.
Would you have preferred Donald Trump?
Donald Trump?
Yeah, his song Donald Trump.
I have not heard.
Oh.
When did he die? Mac Miller.
A few years ago.
Really? And he had a song about Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think it was before 2016, right? When did Donald Trump come out?
I want to say like 2014, maybe?
Yeah.
So I was guest hosting on a national show the other night, and
Ooh,
no. I knew. There's a cop. Shut up. There's a cop. There's a detective that believes that Kurt Cobain was murdered.
He was Hillary Clinton's suicide.
Yes. You can call it Courtney Loved, but that's just an accusation. But I interviewed this guy. I swear to God, I think he was drunk.
Really?
Yeah.
Hammered drunk.
It sounded like it to me.
Well, that one interview you had earlier this morning, she seemed drunk too. She was like quick to hang up the phone.
She was. She was great.
I know, I'm kidding. I thought it was a good interview.
And Sam, would you like to share what you told me in Q about Allie Bradley?
What?
Okay.
Oh.
Sam doesn't want to talk about what.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about, Dan.
Joan, you're not one to talk. You said that John Thune was handsome.
Oh
my God.
She did.
Yeah.
She said that yesterday. I said, does anybody honestly like John Thune? Does anybody have any respect for this guy with the
Joan
feet dragging?
Jones.
And I get a text from Joan Jones who says he's handsome.
That's effort. Have to put that in a text? Unrelated
While
to
I
the
was
matter?
driving.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
even sure I should read that on the air. I felt like I would be destroying someone we love.
So for people that want to slash Jones tires,
John.
Hang on. I see nothing wrong with admiring that someone is a not
You have a lot of
hard to
stuttering.
look at
A lot of
person.
stammering.
yeah, I noticed
Right?
that.
My preferred term is aesthetically pleasing
He's aesthetically
individual.
pleasing. I didn't say I agree with everything. In fact, he infuriates me.
No, you didn't mention any of that.
No,
I don't have to.
all you.
You asked if there was anything redeemable about this man, and I said he's good looking.
I'll back Joan up on this, but Dan.
can I just say, like, it's one thing for her to text me that he's handsome, but then like the overwhelming amount of heart eye emojis and the drooling emoji, I thought that was complete overkill.
Fake news.
Wow, Joan.
Fake news.
Need I remind you that Dan referred to Jasmine Crockett as thick?
Thick. Whatever.
Is she
You
pretty?
guys-
Hold on. Is she pretty?
Pretty dumb.
What's
Come
worse?
on.
What's,
Is she physically attractive?
what's worse, falling in love with a Democrat or a rhino?
Ooh. Ooh.
That's a YouTube poll for you.
Yeah.
You know what, Sam? Let's do a YouTube poll. What's worse, falling in love with a Democrat or a rhino? I'm going to say it's worse to fall in love with a Democrat because I believe that a rhino can be converted.
It's true.
Right?
Maybe.
Fact check true.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why can't a Democrat be converted? They need a heart change, but, you know, they could be.
Joan, Democrats have no soul. You would have to change, like, their soul and their black heart.
Yeah.
And that's just too much work, to be honest.
To take them to church and redeem them and get it back from Satan.
By the way,
hold them under that water a little longer.
By the way, I need
just give them an extra second.
Just till the bubbles stop.
Whoa.
I'm kidding.
You see what happens, Joan, when you say something outlandish like this?
Wow.
You see where we find ourselves?
Yes. I'll never say anything that outlandish again.
Joan started it. I feel like I need to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier when I was listening to your show yesterday, Chris, that I actually skipped my $9 cup of coffee at Starbucks. So we're clear, I usually get a pastry too. So I'm not spending $9 on one cup of commie coffee. I also get a commie pastry.
I also thought it was really nice of you to give me credit for that and not Wally's Bean Machine, which is probably the fact of the matter.
Wally's Bean Machine is a big part of that too. Like I'm just going to be. We met Wally the other day. What a
He's
nice
awesome.
Nice guy.
Super nice guy. Yes.
All right, real quick because I'm rapidly running out of time. I did so much prep today, and I didn't get to all of it, but I've got to get to Stephen A. Smith. So we all remember what Donald Trump said.
The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Right.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself.
All right, so we all, of course, know that this was a trap. You know what's so odd, Chris, and I've said this a couple of times now. How is it, because you and I think Chad and Matt were in on the conversation, but I know specifically you and I talked about how the Democrats have to know this coming. This is coming.
You have to know that he's going to lay the bait. He's going to lay the trap.
Yes.
And you have to be aware and ready for that.
So Stephen A. Smith, man.
He didn't sit up there and say white Americans or black Americans. He said Americans, meaning that if you're an American citizen, no matter what, you could be of African American descent, you could be of Hispanic descent, you could be of white descent. It doesn't matter. The fact that he said America before everybody else and the Democrats didn't stand up is a reminder of what lost them the election in 2024.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen A. Smith. And so, you know, part of me started thinking that he's going to use this moment as an excuse to run for president in 2028. There is a catch, though, but there's more from Stephen A. Smith.
And see, this is where I get pissed off because I'm not rooting against the Democrats. I'm rooting for them. Speaker Mike Johnson was on Sean Hannity's show last night in the immediate aftermath of the State of the Union address, smiling ear to ear, talking about how the GOP was definitely going to use Ilhan Omar screaming at the president and the Democrats refusing to stand up when they had that question posed to them by Trump, purposefully, I might add. They're going to use it as a campaign tool. I mean, you can't see it coming. You can't understand the importance of prepping yourself and preparing yourself not to fall for the okie doke. And then you wonder why people like me get pissed off. Independents who are moderates, who usually vote left. And we're saying time and time again, stop falling for the bait. You're playing right into his hands and you won't listen.
Can I just say,
he's so good.
I love Stephen A. Smith. I feel like I got to wipe the spittle off my face.
Yes. Just thinking the exact
Right?
same thing. He's the only guy in all of broadcasting who can spit through the speakers.
Yeah, it's you know a crazy talent that he has. So you played this yesterday, and
Smith Spanberger, who says no?
And so, but here's the thing, though.
The CIA would run that presidency.
Do you know how much he makes per year? $100 million. Or whatever it is. But he signed a $100 million contract with ESPN, and he has come out and said that he is not going to give up his money. So unless there's some sort of a...
You mean to become to run for president?
To run for president because the equal time rules and all that. So he says that every time that he's on ESPN, they would have to give his political opponents equal time. So he says, I'm not going to give up my broadcasting career. I'm not going to give up my money, but that would effectively end his broadcasting career. So at least that's what he says.
He also said a couple weeks ago, though, on CBS that he hasn't ruled it out. He has no desire to be a politician, but he's not ruling it out.
I think this quote was from last week.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How dare you, Chris?
Sure? You sure? 'Cause mine's from...
Don't question
mine's
him.
from February 13th.
How dare you?
He was on CBS, and he said...
Did you hear what just
happened?
happened?
Yeah.
I said, how dare you? And he played it at the same time.
Yep.
I believe that my information... You hear what's going on, Joan?
Yeah.
Now, is Chris and I going to have a pissing match over who's...
I don't think Dan's
I mean,
telling
at least make it hard. Come on, man.
I don't think Dan's telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth. All right, what did you bring to the table today, Chris?
What? I didn't bring anything. I looked up movie props, and we haven't gotten there yet. You told me that there's all the movie props.
Yeah, I've got the list pulled up.
So Stephen A. Smith says this.
Dan's really excited to buy the C-3PO head.
Yeah.
Lord knows what he's going to do with that thing.
Chris texted me. He texted me when Dan was talking about that. I gotta pull it up. Someone is going to buy that C-3PO just to have sex with it.
It's true.
Oh,
So I had to reply.
Everybody knows it.
Or in it.
Oh, it's also true.
Talk about human cyborg relations.
Which is good, Sam. Which is creepier, though? Like having sex in it or having sex with it? I think probably
with
it. Yeah, I think
inanimate object.
The fact that I had to even ask that question, I apologize. Joan's like, what is wrong with you?
I checked
I'm trying
out.
to put it in, and I just can't get it in.
It'd be so awkward. Somebody's just yelling, "Help me, Obi-Wan! Help me, Obi-Wan!" They're selling other things too.
What else are they selling?
They're selling a Batman grappling hook from Batman Returns.
A grappling hook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is that?
You know,
what's a grappling hook?
It's the little gun that fires, and it's a little claw, and then he climbs up on the rope.
Oh, okay.
Grappling hook.
Yeah.
They're also selling the fishing rods and the harpoon gun from Jaws.
Ooh.
They're selling the jacket worn by Arnold in The Terminator. They're selling helmets from Gladiator. And the Wilson volleyball used in Castaway.
Oh, don't forget the...
Oh, really? That's cool.
Hold on. I got a timeout here.
I don't like the Castaway ball.
How? Why?
It's haunted.
Internet conspiracy theories have ruined me on it.
Well, all right. We can't leave it there. What do the internet conspiracy theories say?
That it's somebody with the face skin removed.
Oh.
That was tortured.
No, come on.
Satanic pedophile elites.
All right, whatever. So here's my question.
Well, it is Tom.
It is Tom Hanks. I know. That's why I can't.
right.
That's why I can't.
Hang on. Now I'm starting to believe.
I can't deal with it anymore.
Got that Greek citizenship.
Here's
like I don't know if this stuff's true. I just know that it's warped me, and I can't look at things the same anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, can I speak?
Oh, this is your show, right?
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking. Oh my goodness gracious! All right, I'm calling BS on this. On the Wilson ball and how that is somehow up for auction. That is Joan and the C-3PO head as well. This is part of like American culture. How is it that these things aren't in like some museum somewhere?
Yeah, they should be in a Smithsonian somewhere.
Yeah, yes, Joan.
Yeah.
Or how is it that George Lucas or Tom Hanks don't want these individual products?
Who's paying money to go see that stuff in a museum?
I would.
Would you really?
Well,
Absolutely.
You don't pay
Really?
for Smithsonian museums.
Well,
They're free.
Joan, you think John Thune's handsome? Give me a second.
Oh my gosh.
So, but why? Why would you buy a ticket for that?
You don't.
Well, number one, you don't buy a ticket, but why? Okay, regardless, I would buy a ticket for it because I'm that guy that likes that stuff. I would.
You would take a picture on your cell phone of it that you would never look at again?
What I would do is I would get in front of it.
I would take a picture with it.
I would take a picture with it. That's exactly what I would do.
And then he'd AI Photoshop it, whatever the object was, into his hand or on his person.
I would be the guy to Photoshop a C-3PO mask on my head instead of my Piki cap, which I got a new one today. Nobody said anything. Damn you.
I think it looks sharp.
Really? It's new?
Yeah.
Because it kind of looks like the one you wore yesterday.
That's what I told him.
I hate you both.
I think part of it's these museums wouldn't be able to afford these items unless they were donated. The harpoon gun is estimated to be sold anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000.
How much would you pay for the C-3PO mask?
$10.
$10.
It's going to smell like cigarette smoke. You know the actors chain smoked through all 3 movies.
Wow.
In it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
That's pretty cool.
Is there only one mask? Like, there's got to be more than one.
No, it was the 70s. They're like, here's your one outfit. Make it last 3 movies.
No. Maybe you can explain this to me, Chris. 3565 says Hillary Clinton will buy that volleyball. What does that mean?
That's where the conspiracy theory comes
Yeah,
from.
that's Pizzagate.
There was a long rumored video to be circulating on the internet called Frazzle Drip.
Ew.
Have you heard of this?
I'm going to look it up right now.
I don't want to know who Frazzle is or anything about his drip.
It's one of the oldest conspiracy theories on the internet.
Okay, go ahead.
That there's a video of Hillary Clinton torturing a young girl who has had the front of her face removed. 2015 was a weird time on the internet, Dan.
Oh, I know. I was here. I remember. I talked about Pizzagate.
You're at the surface level. Chris and I were digging into the
It
depths.
was found on Anthony Weiner's laptop.
Ooh.
Oh, my gosh. Huma Abedin had something to do with it.
Who is now married to
Soros' son.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Wow.
You know, in fairness to Joan, I once proclaimed on this radio station that I thought Uma Abedin was hot. And I think I said, Pamela Firkin backed me up on this, I think I said with 2 T's.
Damn straight we did.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
That's exactly right.
You've also said that the Wicked Witch of the West was hot. And to bring this thing full circle, you can also buy the Cowardly Lion's Medal of Courage.
I know where that's being worn.
You know what? I actually have the Medal of Courage for saying some of the things I've said on WTN over the years. All right, very good. Thank you, Chris. Another stellar segment.
You're welcome.
All right, let's see here. It is 8:54. Joan, what's coming up in the news?
Oh, you know, Dan, it's just news. So coming up in the news, a woman hit by a train. She's being charged for it. Also, a correctional officer with the Tennessee Department of Correction stabbed to death recently. We've got that story coming up as well. It's at 9 o'clock here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All righty, it's 8:54, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and I'm going to do Busy Bee now, if I could. So I want to tell you about my friend. Would you find Glock store in there?
What? Why do you? Dan keeps all of his commercial copy in a folder with actual paper.
Except Glock stores on the computer. It's not printed.
No, I printed out a new Glock store.
I didn't see it.
Oh, that might be on me. All right, 8:55.
Talk about your inside baseball.
I know. I'm sorry. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Going to do that. When winter storms hit Nashville, they don't play around. Power outages, frozen lines, and busted pipes can turn into major home disasters fast. What do you do with your commercials? Do you have them all on your computer?
It's all in a Google Doc, and then I just Control F, and I can find any script I need, and I don't have to turn through this encyclopedia of copy that you have. Is this Britannica? What is this?
Sam spends 10 minutes every morning sorting it.
Maybe you should show me exactly what you do. Anyway, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your trusted team for emergencies and peace of mind protection. Now, right now, you can get 40% off whole home surge protectors with any electrical repair. Keep your home safe from sudden outages and voltage spikes. And if cold temperatures have wrecked your pipes, Busy Bee has you covered with $500 off select whole home water repipes. Check them out online, busybeehvac.com. You can call them 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833. Busy Bee will take the sting out of winter problems. All right, I love the Glock store for so many different reasons. This is, of course, where I have bought my guns. It is where I've bought my ammo. It is where I've had my gun blinged out. You ever have your gun blinged out, Chris? I've had my Glock blinged out at the Glock store. I had the red dot optic. I had the cool trigger put on.
Oh,
whole thing.
You're talking about, I thought you were going down the line of bedazzling.
Or bedazzling, blinged or bedazzled, either one. I've had my Glock bedazzled and blinged, as a matter of fact, at the Glock store.
A bit tricked out.
If you want to get your Glock tricked out, you can go to the Glock store. There's all kinds of things they can do there for you at the Glock store. They do it right there on site, as a matter of fact. You know, at the Glock store, they carry all the Glocks, factory and custom. Plus, they've got, again, any kind of accessory you might need at the Glock store. And again, this is where I did all my training. So you want to check them out. You can find them online, glockstore.com and shoot270.com. That's my friends at the Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.